On a freezing night, a struggling single mother stands in the pouring rain, groceries soaked, child in her arms, praying the last bus will come. But when an empty city bus stops just for her, the driver isn't just offering a warm seat's offering the one thing she's been missing her whole life: hope. She thinks this kindness will be the end of her troubles. But it's just the beginning. A flooded apartment, a stranger's church shelter, and then, at a glittering event, her little boy whispers 5 words to a powerful man, words that shatter the room. Suddenly, the past she's tried to bury collides with the future she's fighting for. Who really came to save her that night? And what will she have to risk to keep the life she's just begun to build? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The cold autumn rain soaked everything as Eva Morales tightened her hood in vain. The rain chilled her to the bone. She struggled with 2 grocery bags while keeping Zeke, her tired 6-year-old son, close, his small hand clutching her coat, his steps dragging. "Mommy, I'm cold," Zeke murmured, nearly drowned out by the rain. "I know, baby," Eva replied gently, worry creeping in. "We're almost home." Checking her watch, panic surged. The bus was due any minute, and they were still blocks away. She quickened her pace, careful not to slip. "Come on, Zeke, we have to move faster," she urged. Zeke tried, but fatigue weighed him down. The bags felt heavier with each step. Eva felt the ache in her arms but couldn't stop now. As they turned the corner, her heart sank. A bus was pulling away from the stop at the block's end, its red taillights glowing faintly. "No!" she whispered in desperation. She dragged Zeke along, the rain intensifying, nearly blinding her. By the time they reached the stop, the bus was gone. Catching her breath, she realized her clothes were soaked, water filling her shoes. Zeke shivered, chattering his teeth. "We missed it," he said, disappointment heavy in his voice. Eva knelt beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, sweetheart, we'll figure something out." Doubt gnawed at her. The next bus wouldn't arrive for an hour, and standing in this weather was not an option. A cab crossed her mind, but money was tight. Under the bus stop awning, Eva's mind raced with options. Walking home was out of the question. It was several blocks away, and Zeke was already exhausted. She looked around, searching for a solution, only finding empty streets and closed shops. "Mommy?" Zeke interrupted her thoughts. "Yes, baby? I'm really cold." Her heart ached at his words. She wished to ease his discomfort. Pulling him close, she shared what warmth she could. "We'll be okay," she said softly, more to herself. Minutes dragged under the flickering streetlight, as rain pelted down relentlessly, each drop a reminder of their predicament. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed an elderly woman rushing past with an umbrella. Eva considered asking for help but hesitated. Her pride held her back. Sensing her turmoil, Zeke tugged at her sleeve again. "Mommy?" "Yes?" "I'm hungry." Eva sighed, feeling the weight of every challenge. She fished out an apple from one of the grocery bags, enough to keep Zeke satisfied until they got home. "Here you go." She handed him the apple. Zeke gratefully began nibbling while they remained under the meager shelter from the rain. The downpour showed no signs of relenting, worsening with every second. Eva glanced nervously around, hoping for a miracle, despite the bleakness of their situation. Amid the chaos, familiar landmarks faded under the sheets of rain, turning their evening into a nightmarish ordeal. Eva felt a growing helplessness in the swirling elements around them. Desperation clouded her thoughts as she searched for any semblance of relief in the rain-slicked streets. Relief felt distant, even impossible, while she focused on her responsibilities as a mother. With every passing minute, the downpour and cold pressed heavily upon them, demanding immediate action. The prospect of waiting an hour for the next bus was disheartening, igniting a fierce determination within her. She wouldn't give up on Zeke or herself. Eva hesitated, glancing at the out-of-service sign on the bus. The rain continued to pour, soaking her and Zeke. The driver, with a kind face, leaned out. Need a ride, ma'am? He asked, his voice steady. Eva noticed Zeke's lips turning blue from the cold. She couldn't ignore his well-being. With a deep breath, she nodded. Yes, please, she said softly. She guided Zeke up the steps first, tightly gripping her hand. As they boarded the warm, empty bus, relief washed over Eva. The warmth starkly contrasted the rain outside. They were the only passengers. Thank you so much, Eva said with gratitude. No problem at all, he replied, smiling. I'm Noah Carter. Eva Morales, and this is my son, Zeke, she introduced. Zeke shyly waved and tucked his face into her coat. Noah pulled a towel from his lunch bag and handed it to Zeke. Here you go, buddy. This should help you dry off. Zeke's eyes widened as he whispered a quiet thank you and wrapped the towel around himself. Take your time, Noah encouraged, motioning to the empty seats. Eva guided Zeke to a seat near the front, helping him dry off. She patted her own face and hair with the towel, feeling warmth bring color back to their cheeks. Noah observed them for a moment before turning to his controls. Where are you headed? He asked. We live 10 blocks from here. We got caught in this downpour trying to catch the bus, Eva explained. I can take you there. It's not out of my way, Noah offered. Relief washed over Eva once again. Thank you so much, Mr. Carter. Noah is fine, he chuckled. It's no trouble. As the bus glided through the rain-slicked streets, Eva felt herself start to relax. She was grateful for this unexpected kindness. Zeke snuggled into his seat, growing more comfortable. So, what grade are you in, Zeke? Noah asked. I'm in 1st grade, Zeke said proudly. That's great. Do you like school? Zeke nodded enthusiastically. Yes, my favorite subject is science because we get to do cool experiments. Noah smiled at Zeke's excitement. Science is amazing. I remember doing experiments too. Eva smiled, enjoying their interaction. It was rare for Zeke to open up quickly, but there was something about Noah that eased them both. As they continued through the city, Noah chatted with Zeke about school, hobbies, and superheroes, which Zeke loved. Eva chimed in occasionally, but mostly listened as her son animatedly conversed with their kind driver. The rain showed no signs of letting up as they neared Eva's apartment. City lights reflected off puddles as people hurried under umbrellas or sought shelter. Mommy, Zeke asked during a lull. Yes, Eva responded, stroking his damp hair. Do you think we'll make it home before bedtime? He asked, his curiosity mixed with a trace of worry. I think we'll be just fine, Eva assured him, her voice steady with confidence. Noah caught a glimpse of them in the rearview mirror, appreciating the connection between mother and child. You're raising such a wonderful kid, he remarked sincerely. Eva blushed, appreciating the compliment. Thank you, she replied gently. The bus continued through the rain-soaked streets under the city lights. Eva felt the weight of her responsibilities, balancing hope and despair while trying to shield Zeke from the world's complexities. Eventually, they arrived at their destination. We're here, Noah announced, motioning to the door. Thank you so much, Eva expressed sincerely, grateful for Noah's kindness. You're welcome any time, he replied warmly, reflecting genuine care. With those final words, they exchanged farewells, knowing the fleeting moment left lasting impressions and cherished memories, reinforcing the strength of human connection amid life's challenges. Eva carefully stepped off the bus, carrying Zeke in her arms. The rain had not let up, and she hurried towards the entrance of their apartment building, trying to avoid the puddles that had formed on the cracked pavement. She could feel the water seeping into her shoes, making each step squish uncomfortably. Noah watched them from the bus door, his face etched with concern. You take care now, he called out, raising his hand in a gentle wave. Thank you again, Noah, Eva said, giving him a grateful smile before turning to push open the heavy front door of the building. As she stepped inside, she was met with a wave of warmth from the hallway radiator, but her relief was short-lived. Her eyes widened as she noticed a glistening sheen on the floor. She took a cautious step forward, feeling cold water seep through her already soaked shoes. Oh no, she muttered under her breath. Zeke, sensing his mother's distress, looked up at her with worried eyes. "What's wrong, Mommy?" he asked. Eva didn't want to alarm him, so she forced a calm smile onto her face. "Nothing we can't handle, sweetheart." She walked further down the hallway and saw that water was spreading from under their apartment door. With a sinking feeling in her stomach, she shifted Zeke onto her hip and fumbled for her keys with one hand. The keys jingled as she tried to find the right one in the dim light of the hallway. Finally, managing to unlock the door, Eva pushed it open and gasped at the sight before her. The entire floor of their small apartment was covered in water. It looked like a burst pipe had turned their home into an indoor pool. "Oh my goodness," Eva whispered, taking a hesitant step inside. The water was ankle deep and still rising slowly. From down the hallway came a shout. "Hey, is your place flooded too?" Eva turned to see Mrs. Johnson, her upstairs neighbor, standing at her own doorway with a phone pressed to her ear. The elderly woman looked frazzled and upset. "Yes," Eva called back over Zeke's head. "Do you know what happened?" "It's that old plumbing," Mrs. Johnson replied angrily. "A pipe must have burst upstairs. I've been trying to call the landlord for hours, but he won't pick up." Eva felt panic rising within her chest, but forced herself to stay calm for Zeke's sake. "What should we do?" she asked helplessly. "I don't know," Mrs. Johnson said, shaking her head in frustration as she continued dialing numbers on her phone. "We need someone who can shut off the water," but without Mr. Blake answering. Just then, Noah appeared at the entrance of their building, stepping inside and immediately noticing Eva's distressed state and wet feet. "Everything all right?" he asked gently but with concern etched into his features. Eva shook her head slowly as tears began to well up in her eyes despite herself. All this after such an exhausting day was simply too much for one person to bear alone without breaking down even slightly under pressure like this. "No," Eva admitted softly yet truthfully, while holding back sobs that threatened release any moment now. It seemed fate kept throwing obstacles in their path, relentlessly without mercy or respite whatsoever. Lately, making survival itself feel like some sort of twisted endurance test. Nobody signed up voluntarily but had no choice except endure. Nevertheless, somehow miraculously finding strength within when least expected or likely needed most desperately too, unfortunately so often these days. Noah stepped closer, cautiously, yet reassuringly. Still maintaining respectful distance between them, knowing intuitively how overwhelming everything must seem right now, especially given circumstances surrounding sudden flooding combined. Existing struggles already endured daily basis, thus far alone, until meeting earlier today, purely by chance miracle timing, perhaps orchestrated higher power beyond comprehension, possibly, who knows truly. "Can I help?" he offered, kindly, sincerely, wanting alleviate burden, weighing heavily upon single mother's shoulders, visibly slumped under strain, accumulated pressures, mounting steadily, unrelenting barrage, trials, tribulations, faced routinely, yet persevering admirably, despite odds, stacked against favor, unfairly, unjustly, seemingly perpetually, never-ending cycle, hardship, heartbreak, faced head-on, bravely, courageously, steadfastly, unwavering, determination, resolve, unmatched, unparalleled, truly inspiring, testament, human spirit, resilience, fortitude, strength, character, unwavering, faith, hope, brighter, future, promised, eventual redemption, salvation, deliverance, ultimate triumph over adversity, seemingly insurmountable. Odds overcome victorious, gloriously, ultimately deservedly, so undeniably, unequivocally. "Yes," Eva finally managed to whisper, hoarsely, voice barely audible. Noah nodded, understanding sympathetically, empathetically, compassionately, knowing intuitively, precisely, exactly what needed right now more than anything else. Reassurance, comfort, stability, security, safety, peace, mind, heart, soul, body, spirit. Holistic, comprehensive, encompassing every aspect. Existence seamlessly, effortlessly, harmoniously, synchronously, balanced, equilibrium, perfect harmony, serenity, tranquility, calmness, inner, outer peace, wholeness, completeness, fulfillment, satisfaction, contentment, happiness, joy, bliss, euphoria, rapture, ecstasy, exaltation, elation, exhilaration, jubilation, delight, pleasure, gratification, 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 delight, pleasure, gratification. At Pastor Ruth's small but bustling church, the warm, golden light inside the fellowship hall was a stark contrast to the dark, rain-soaked world outside. The moment Eva stepped through the doors with Zeke in her arms, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. The smell of fresh soup filled the air, mingling with the scent of freshly baked bread. People moved about with purpose, some carrying blankets, others arranging cots for those who needed a place to sleep. Pastor Ruth herself was there to greet them. She was a tall woman with silver hair pulled back into a neat bun and eyes that sparkled with kindness and determination. "Welcome," she said warmly, her voice strong and reassuring. "You must be Eva and Zeke. Noah called ahead and told us about your situation." Eva nodded, feeling tears of gratitude prick at her eyes. "Thank you so much for taking us in," she managed to say, her voice choked with emotion. "Of course," Pastor Ruth replied gently. "No one should have to face a night like this without help. Come on in, let's get you both warmed up." Eva followed Pastor Ruth further into the hall, taking in the sight of other families and individuals who had also found refuge here. The church's fellowship hall had been transformed into a temporary shelter, with cots lined up neatly along one wall and tables set up with food and drinks. "Mommy, it smells good," Zeke whispered excitedly as he buried his face in Eva's shoulder. Eva smiled down at him. "It sure does, sweetheart." Pastor Ruth led them to a table where Lori Carter was ladling soup into bowls. Lori was Noah's mother, and she had the same warm smile and twinkling eyes as her son. Her short gray hair framed her face in soft curls, and she wore an apron over her clothes that read, "Kiss the Cook." "Hello there," Lori exclaimed as soon as she saw them. "You must be Zeke. I've got some delicious chicken noodle soup just for you." She winked at Zeke, making him giggle. "Hi," Zeke responded shyly, peeking out from behind his mother. "And you must be Eva," Lori continued, turning her attention to Eva. "Noah told me about what happened. You poor thing. Let's get you both some food and dry clothes." Lori handed a bowl of steaming soup to Zeke and another to Eva before guiding them to a nearby table where they could sit down. "There are blankets over there by the cots," Lori said, pointing across the room. "And I've got some spare clothes for you in case you need them." "Thank you so much," Eva said gratefully as she took a seat and helped Zeke settle onto the bench beside her. As they began to eat their soup, Eva felt herself start to relax for the first time since they had left their flooded apartment. The warmth of the broth spread through her body, chasing away the chill that had settled into her bones. Lori sat down across from them with her own bowl of soup and began chatting with Zeke as if they were old friends. "So, Zeke," she said cheerfully, "what's your favorite thing to do?" Zeke looked up at Lori with wide eyes as he slurped his soup noisily. "I like playing with my toy cars," he said between mouthfuls. "Toy cars? That sounds fun," Lori replied with enthusiasm. "My Noah used to love toy cars when he was your age too." Zeke's eyes lit up at this bit of information about Noah. "Really?" he asked eagerly. "Oh yes," Lori said with a nod. "He had this big red fire truck that he would take everywhere with him." Eva watched their interaction with a smile on her face. It warmed her heart to see Zeke so animated despite everything they had been through that evening. After they finished their soup, Pastor Ruth returned with a stack of soft blankets in her arms. "Here you go," she said kindly as she handed one to each of them. "Thank you so much," Eva said again, as she wrapped a blanket around Zeke's shoulders before taking one for herself. Pastor Ruth smiled gently at them both before turning to address the room full of people seeking refuge from the storm outside. "Everyone, please make yourselves comfortable. We'll be setting up more cots shortly, so everyone has somewhere warm to sleep tonight." The room buzzed with quiet conversation as people settled down for the night under warm blankets or gathered around tables, sharing stories over bowls of hot soup. Eva noticed an area set aside where people could change into dry clothes if needed. It was partially screened off for privacy but still allowed those changing clothes access back into main room quickly if needed. She picked up some spare clothes provided by church members who had brought extras specifically for those needing shelter tonight. "I'll be right back," she told Zeke softly. He nodded, engrossed now in conversation about toy cars with Lori. Carrying clean clothes provided by kind church members, Eva headed towards makeshift changing area where other women were already drying off wet clothes before changing into dry ones. She chose corner farthest from main room so no one could accidentally glimpse while changing. Or Cass. Slipping out wet clothes took longer than expected. Fabric clung stubbornly against skin, even after shaking off excess water droplets dripping everywhere. Finally, managing wriggle-free drenched garments replaced. Fresh ones smelled faintly lavender detergent used by whoever donated these pieces made quick prayer, thanking whoever kindness meant strangers facing difficult situations didn't feel a lone world. Returning soon found Zeke still chatting happily. Lori, who regaled tales, younger days raising Noah, sharing laughter, occasional tear, remembering happy times spent together, loved ones, long gone memory, lived hearts, minds forever cherished. Moments gone past, bringing joy present, even midst trials faced today. Settling herself onto cot, beside where now contentedly lying wrapped warm blanket clutching small stuffed animal, always carried everywhere, looked around. Seeing others, similarly, settling down cots, lining walls, makeshift beds, temporary haven, providing much-needed comfort, weary souls, seeking shelter storm, raging outside tonight. Finding peace within walls, church family brought together love, compassion, hope, future, brighter days ahead. Quietly whispered prayer. Heart, thanking God, providing unexpected refuge. Night reminding, always watching over, protecting, guiding paths, cross strangers, becoming friends united, common purpose, helping another facing challenges life brought. Way. Believing tomorrow held promise better things, yet come faith, love, guiding lights, journey forward, never giving hope, brighter days, dawn horizon, waiting, embrace courage, strength, shared hearts, hands reaching out, lift another journey, walked together. Never alone, forever connected threads, woven tapestry life, bringing warmth, comfort, even darkest nights. Stars shone brightest skies above, reminding never truly alone, always surrounded love, grace, guiding lights, leading home hearts. Entwined forevermore. Morning light streamed through the fellowship hall windows, casting a warm, golden glow over the makeshift shelter. The storm had passed, leaving behind a crisp, clear day. Eva stretched her arms and glanced around the room, noticing the peaceful expressions on the faces of those who had found refuge here. She felt a surprising sense of belonging, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Eva quietly slipped out of her cot, careful not to wake Zeke, who was still sleeping soundly. She made her way to the kitchen area where Lori was already bustling about, preparing breakfast for everyone. "Good morning," Lori greeted her with a cheerful smile. "Did you sleep well?" Eva nodded, returning the smile. "Yes, thank you. And thank you for everything you've done for us." Lori waved off her thanks with a flick of her wrist. "It's nothing really. We're all in this together. Now, how about you help me serve breakfast? We've got eggs, toast, and oatmeal on the menu today." Eva felt a warmth spread through her chest at Lori's words. She rolled up her sleeves and joined Lori in the kitchen, helping to scramble eggs and butter toast. As they worked side by side, Eva found herself opening up about her life, her struggles as a single mother, juggling multiple jobs while attending nursing school, and her dreams of creating a better life for Zeke. Lori listened attentively, offering words of encouragement and sharing stories from her own life. It wasn't long before other shelter guests began to wake up and make their way to the dining area. Eva and Lori served plates of food with smiles and kind words, creating an atmosphere of warmth and community. As she handed out plates of scrambled eggs and toast, Eva couldn't help but notice how grateful everyone was for this small act of kindness. Many offered heartfelt thanks or shared bits of their own stories in return. It was a reminder that they were all connected by their shared humanity, each person carrying their own burdens, but also capable of extending grace to others. Just as they were finishing up breakfast service, Noah appeared at the door of the fellowship hall. He had his uniform on and looked ready for his bus route. But he took a moment to greet everyone with his usual quiet kindness. "Good morning," he said softly, as he approached Eva and Lori. "Good morning," Lori replied brightly. "We've just finished serving breakfast. Would you like some before you head out?" Noah shook his head with a small smile. "I've already eaten, but thank you." He turned his attention to Eva and reached into his pocket. "I have something for Zeke," he said as he pulled out a shiny old bus token. Eva's eyes widened in surprise as she took the token from Noah's hand. It was well worn but polished to a bright sheen, clearly something that had been cherished over the years. "He mentioned yesterday that he likes toy cars," Noah explained with a gentle smile. "This token is from my collection. I used to collect them when I was his age. I thought he might like it." Tears welled up in Eva's eyes as she looked at the token in her hand. It wasn't just an old piece of metal. It was a symbol of kindness and connection, something tangible that Zeke could hold on to during these uncertain times. "Thank you so much," Eva whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Noah nodded quietly before glancing over at Zeke's cot, where the little boy was beginning to stir awake. "You're welcome," he said softly before turning back towards the door. "I'd better get going. My route starts soon." Lori waved goodbye as Noah left, then turned back towards Eva with an understanding smile on her face. "He's one of the good ones, isn't he?" she remarked gently. Eva nodded, still holding on to bus token tightly. "Yes, he is." A few minutes later, Zeke woke up rubbing sleep from his eyes, looking around room curiously, spotting Mother standing nearby, clutching shiny object hand immediately intrigued. "What's that, Mommy?" he asked eagerly, rushing over. "See closer." Eva knelt down, holding token out towards son, smiling softly. "It's special gift from Mr. Noah," she explained, watching wonder fill Zeke's eyes, examining closely, turning over hands, admiring every detail. "It's so cool," Zeke exclaimed, grinning widely, hugging Mother tightly moment later. "Thank you, Mommy." "You should thank Mr. Noah next time see him," Eva replied, ruffling son hair, affectionately feeling warmth, spreading heart, knowing small gestures, kindness meant world. Those received them. Zeke nodded eagerly, already planning how express gratitude next encounter bus driver who made such big impact, short amount time spent together. As morning continued, people gradually finished eating, began packing belongings, preparing leave, temporary shelter return, lives outside walls. Church feeling little lighter burden carried hearts, knowing weren't alone facing challenges ahead. Support community behind them, lifting another times need. Eva helped clean up breakfast area, working alongside other volunteers, chatting, sharing stories, laughter, filling air, making task enjoyable rather than chore, reminding importance, connection, even midst adversity, faced daily basis, and DaxLying.com. Eva sat at a small table in a quiet corner of the church's fellowship hall, cradling a warm mug of tea. The soothing aroma of chamomile calmed her frayed nerves. Across from her, Mrs. Hawthorne took her seat, with the grace of someone who had seen much in life. Mrs. Hawthorne, an elderly woman with silver hair, had eyes clouded with age, yet still sparkled with wisdom from years of fighting for justice. She had been one of Eva's clients for a while, and Eva came to admire her resilience. "Thank you for meeting with me," Eva said softly, sipping her tea. Mrs. Hawthorne smiled warmly. "It's my pleasure. I have something important to discuss." Eva nodded, curiosity mixed with apprehension. She trusted Mrs. Hawthorne's intentions. "You know," Mrs. Hawthorne began, "I've seen many changes in this city, some good, some not so good, but the need for community remains constant." Eva listened, nodding in agreement. "I've been part of various philanthropic circles," Mrs. Hawthorne continued. "I met those who want to make a difference and others more interested in appearances than real change." Eva's brow furrowed, trying to grasp where this was leading. "One person I came across is Miles Davenport," Mrs. Hawthorne said, leaning in as if sharing a secret. Eva's eyes widened. She had heard of him, a wealthy developer known for his charitable work. "Miles Davenport?" Eva echoed, feigning nonchalance. "Yes," Mrs. Hawthorne confirmed. "He runs a foundation supporting housing initiatives for low-income families, one of the few genuinely committed to making a difference." Eva's heart raced at the mention of housing. The idea of a stable home for herself and Zeke was a constant dream. "I think you should meet him, Mrs. Burstert," Hawthorne said gently, placing a reassuring hand on Eva's. "There's an event coming up where his foundation will present their latest project-affordable housing units right here in our neighborhood." Eva hesitated, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Mrs. Hawthorne squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I know this is a lot, but it could be an opportunity for you and Zeke." "But why me?" Eva asked, feeling overwhelmed. "Because you deserve it," Mrs. Hawthorne replied firmly. "You've faced challenges with grace. Your story needs to be heard." Eva bit her lip, contemplating. It was daunting to share her story with strangers. "I'll be there with you," Mrs. Hawthorne added softly. "You won't be alone." The sincerity in Mrs. Hawthorne's voice touched Eva, giving her the courage to consider it. "What do I have to do?" Eva whispered. Mrs. Hawthorne smiled, leaning back in her chair. "Just be yourself. Share your journey and hopes for the future." Eva sipped her tea, feeling warmth spread through her as she mulled over Mrs. Hawthorne's words. Speaking about her struggles was daunting, but empowering an opportunity to advocate for herself and Zeke, as well as for others facing similar challenges. "I'll think about it," Eva finally said, determination in her eyes. "That's all I ask," Mrs. Hawthorne replied kindly, before shifting the conversation to lighter topics, discussing books and recipes, easing the tension until laughter filled their corner once more. The two women shared a connection built on respect and experiences. They reminded each other about the strength found in community support, a bond strong enough to weather any storm. Together, they faced the uncertain future hand in hand, ready to tackle whatever lay ahead. Despite the challenges, hope glimmered. Eva felt emboldened by the notion that they were not alone, working toward a better world, not just for themselves, but for future generations, leaving a lasting legacy of positivity touched by their shared experiences. Eva stood in front of the church's clothing closet, her fingers lightly grazing the fabric of a simple but elegant navy blue dress. It was a far cry from her usual attire of jeans and t-shirts, but Mrs. Hawthorne had insisted she borrow something suitable for the event. "Try this one," Lori Carter, Noah's mother, suggested, holding up the dress with a smile. "It'll bring out the color in your eyes." Eva smiled gratefully and took the dress. "Thank you, Mrs. Carter." "Call me Lori," the older woman replied with a wink. "Now go on and get ready. You're going to look stunning." Eva slipped into the small bathroom adjacent to the fellowship hall and changed into the dress. She took a moment to smooth out the wrinkles and adjust the fit. The dress hugged her figure modestly, accentuating her curves without being too revealing. She brushed her hair and pulled it back into a neat bun, then applied a touch of lip gloss from a small tube she found at the bottom of her purse. When she stepped out, Lori clapped her hands together in delight. "You look beautiful, Eva." "Thank you," Eva replied, feeling a bit more confident with each passing second. Mrs. Hawthorne appeared at the doorway, her eyes twinkling with approval. "You look lovely, my dear," she said warmly. "Are you ready to go?" Eva nodded, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. "As ready as I'll ever be." The drive to the downtown gala was filled with quiet conversation between Eva and Mrs. Hawthorne. The elderly woman shared stories of past events and offered words of encouragement, sensing Eva's apprehension. When they arrived at the venue, Eva's breath caught in her throat. The building was grand and imposing, with crystal chandeliers visible through the tall windows and polished marble floors that gleamed underfoot. Guests dressed in elegant gowns and sharp suits milled about, holding glasses of champagne and engaging in polite conversation. Mrs. Hawthorne led Eva through the crowd with ease, greeting acquaintances with grace and poise. Eva followed closely behind, feeling slightly out of place amid all the opulence. They made their way to a table near the stage, where they were joined by other guests involved in various community projects supported by Davenport's foundation. Eva Morales. Mrs. Hawthorne introduced her to a couple seated next to them. This is Clara and Thomas White. They run a youth mentorship program in Eastwood. Nice to meet you, Eva said politely as she shook their hands. You too, Clara replied warmly. Mrs. Hawthorne speaks very highly of you. Eva smiled appreciatively, but felt a pang of nervousness return as she glanced around the room, filled with people who seemed so much more accustomed to this world than she was. The evening progressed with speeches from various dignitaries praising the work being done in their communities thanks to generous donations from Miles Davenport's foundation. As they dined on an exquisite meal prepared by renowned chefs, food far more luxurious than anything Eva was used to, she couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by it all. The glittering chandeliers above them, the polished speeches extolling virtues like compassion, philanthropy, while surrounded by wealth, privilege. The stark contrast between this world, hers. Her thoughts were interrupted when Mrs. Hawthorne placed a gentle hand on hers. You're doing great, dear. Just remember why we're here, to share our stories, to make connections that could change lives, including yours, Zeke's. Eva nodded, finding strength in those words. Taking another deep breath, she resolved not let herself feel small or insignificant anymore. She belonged here just much anyone else, because everyone had something valuable contribute no matter their background or circumstances. Eventually, it came time for recognition segment, where individuals, organizations would be acknowledged for their contributions, community-building efforts. Eva felt heart pound harder against ribcage when her name called along few others invited. On to stage. Receive awards, certificates, appreciation, work done. Improve lives those around them. As approached podium, heart racing faster ever before, lights dimmed, slightly focused spotlight-centered group stood there amidst applause audience below. Squinting slightly against glare lights, managed spot familiar figure standing off. Side stage holding microphone, none other than Miles Davenport himself. Miles Davenport stood tall, exuding confidence. Charisma, well-dressed suit, perfectly tailored frame. Dark hair touched silver at temples, adding air distinguished sophistication. Demeanor despite wealth privilege, life afforded him. Something genuine about way carried himself. Spoke people, met a long way. When finally turned attention towards group standing beside him, gave warm smile, before beginning address, crowd gathered below. Ladies, gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure. Introduce tonight some truly remarkable individuals, whose dedication, hard work, have made real difference. Lives countless others. Our foundation proud support efforts, through various initiatives programs, designed uplift empower those need most. 1. One began calling names. Each person stepped forward, accept award certificate, shaking hands offering words, gratitude, appreciation, all while maintaining composed, dignified manner, despite nerves might felt inside. Finally reached end list, turned towards last remaining member group, none other than Eva herself. And last but certainly least, we have very special guest tonight, someone whose story truly inspiring, testament, power, resilience, hope, even face adversity. Please join welcoming Miss Eva Morales. Applause. Thunderous, momentarily stunned by sheer volume intensity, sound-filled ears nearly drowned out everything else. Around momentary lapse, focused quickly, regained composure, stepped forward, accepted award certificate, shaking hands. Miles, who gave encouraging nods, smile, understanding, perhaps sensing underlying emotions swirling beneath surface, calm exterior presented outwardly. Others see, perceive, interpret accordingly. The room froze as Zeke's innocent words echoed through the grand ballroom. Flashbulbs popped, capturing the stunned faces of the attendees. Eva felt her heart pound, adrenaline surging through her. She glanced at Miles, whose face had turned ashen, eyes wide with shock. Miles stared blankly, searching for words, as if time had stopped. Eva wanted to disappear from the judgmental whispers she felt spreading through the crowd. She reached for Zeke's hand, pulling him closer, emotions swirling: anger, fear, and protectiveness for her son. Finally, Miles found his voice, strained and uncertain. "Eva, is this true?" Taking a deep breath, Eva nodded slowly, her eyes locked onto his. "Yes, Miles, it's true." A low murmur rippled through the crowd, and snippets of conversation reached Eva's ears, people speculating about the scandal unveiled before them. Mrs. Hawthorne stepped forward, calming amid the chaos. "Let's step outside," she suggested softly. Eva nodded, grateful for her guidance. Clutching Zeke's hand, she followed her elderly friend toward the exit. As they moved through the crowd, she felt eyes boring into her back, each gaze a reminder of her exposure. Outside the ballroom, they found a quiet corner of the lobby. "Are you okay?" Mrs. Hawthorne asked gently. Eva shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't know." Zeke looked up, eyes wide. "Mommy, did I do something wrong?" Kneeling down, Eva cupped his face. "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong." Mrs. Hawthorne observed with sympathetic eyes just as Miles approached, hesitantly. "Eva," he began cautiously, "we need to talk." Standing up, Eva squared her shoulders. "What is there to talk about? You heard Zeke." Miles glanced around nervously. "Can we go somewhere private? This isn't a conversation for here." Eva hesitated but finally nodded reluctantly. Mrs. Hawthorne interjected, "I'll stay with Zeke while you two talk." Grateful, Eva followed Miles down a hall to an empty meeting room. Inside, Miles closed the door, taking a deep breath. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. Tears welled up in Eva's eyes as she struggled to explain the complicated story of pain and regret that reached back to when they first met. "I didn't think you'd care," she said finally. Miles ran fingers through his hair, realization dawning on him about how much had gone unnoticed since their simpler days. "I should have known," he muttered, the echo filling the room. Eva wiped away tears, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment and shame. "You didn't know because I never told you," she finally whispered. "But why?" he pressed, needing to understand the implications of decisions made long ago. "I was scared," she admitted, unable to meet his gaze, embarrassed and vulnerable. "And now?" he asked softly, sensing the depth of her emotion. "Now we figure out how to move forward together," she replied, lifting her chin defiantly to meet his gaze, resolute despite lingering doubt. Miles nodded, absorbing the weight of their newfound roles. He realized the significance of their actions would shape their intertwined futures. Together, they embraced the challenges ahead, united by purpose, navigating the unknown while fostering trust, compassion, and love, determined to create a brighter tomorrow built on resilience and shared experiences, forging unbreakable bonds and lasting memories. Their journey continued onward, eyes fixed forward toward the future, ready to face whatever lay ahead together, knowing it was worth fighting for. The next morning, the city was bathed in a soft gray light. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening and the air crisp and clean. Eva awoke with a heavy heart, her mind still reeling from the events of the previous evening. She glanced at Zeke, who was still asleep beside her on the cot in the church's fellowship hall. His small face was peaceful, unaware of the storm that had erupted in their lives. As Eva quietly dressed and prepared for the day, her phone buzzed on the small table beside her. She picked it up and saw an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. Hesitating for a moment, she answered. "Hello? Eva? It's Miles Davenport." His voice was tense but controlled. "I think we need to talk." Eva felt a mix of emotions, anger, anxiety, and a strange sense of relief that he had reached out. "What do you want, Miles?" "I'd like to meet with you in person," he said. "Can we meet at the corner coffee shop around 10? Eva took a deep breath. "Fine. I'll be there." After making sure Zeke was settled with Lori and Pastor Ruth at the church, Eva made her way to the corner coffee shop. It was a cozy little place, with wooden tables and warm lighting, filled with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. She found Miles sitting at a corner table, looking out of place in his tailored suit amid the casual atmosphere. He stood as she approached, gesturing to the seat opposite him. "Thank you for coming." Eva sat down, folding her hands on the table to keep them from trembling. "Let's get this over with," she said bluntly. Miles sighed, running a hand through his hair. "First of all, I'm sorry about last night. That wasn't how I wanted things to come out." "It wasn't how I wanted things to come out either," Eva replied sharply. Miles nodded, his expression serious. "I understand that this is a complicated situation, but I want to do what's right for Zeke and for you." Eva raised an eyebrow skeptically. "And what does that mean exactly?" "I'd like to offer you financial assistance," Miles said carefully. "Enough to make sure you and Zeke are comfortable until we can sort everything out." Eva's eyes narrowed. "And what's the catch?" "I need you to keep this quiet until we can do a paternity test," Miles explained. "It's not that I don't believe you, but I need confirmation before making any public statements or commitments." Eva felt a surge of anger rising within her. "You want me to take your hush money and stay silent while you protect your reputation?" "It's not just about my reputation," Miles said quickly. "It's about making sure we handle this responsibly for Zeke's sake." Eva shook her head slowly. "I don't want your money, Miles. And I won't be silenced like some dirty little secret." Miles leaned forward, his tone earnest. "Please understand, this is as much for Zeke as it is for me. If word gets out before we have proof, it could turn into an even bigger mess." Eva looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of genuine concern behind his polished exterior. She saw a flicker of something, perhaps sincerity, but it wasn't enough to sway her completely. "I'll agree to the paternity test," she said finally. "But I'm not taking your money or staying silent about this." Miles looked relieved but also wary of her conditions. "Thank you," he said quietly. They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts about what lay ahead. "I just want what's best for Zeke," Eva said softly. "So do I," Miles replied earnestly. Their conversation paused as the waitress approached their table with 2 steaming cups of coffee and set them down gently. "Anything else I can get for you?" she asked with a smile. "No, thank you," Miles said politely. The waitress nodded and walked away, leaving them alone again in their tense silence. Eva wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, savoring its warmth as she tried to gather her thoughts. "What happens next?" she asked finally. "We'll arrange for the paternity test as soon as possible," Miles replied. "Once we have the results, we can discuss how to move forward." Eva nodded slowly, trying to process everything that was happening. "And if Zeke is yours?" she asked pointedly. "Then I'll take responsibility," Miles said firmly. "I want to be part of his life, if he is my son." Eva studied him closely, trying to gauge his sincerity once more. "You say that now?" she said quietly. "But actions speak louder than words." Miles met her gaze steadily. "I know they do." The conversation fell into another uneasy silence as they both sipped their coffee and considered what lay ahead for all three of theme specially little Zeke, who was blissfully unaware of the turmoil surrounding him at that moment. Eventually, when there seemed nothing left unsaid, they stood up from their chairs simultaneously, both realizing there was no more reason staying here any longer than necessary, under such strained circumstances which only highlighted how drastically different their worlds truly were apart. yet now inexplicably intertwined, because one child connected them forevermore, regardless whether confirmed scientifically soon enough too. Within days, the internet buzzed with cruel comments and edited photos, branding Eva Morales a gold digger. Headline after headline read, "Single Mom Schemes to Trap Millionaire," and "Eva Morales, Opportunist or Genuine." Each one felt like a slap, and despite her attempts to ignore the comments, they were impossible to evade. Strangers judged her life, turning it into a spectacle. Sitting in Pastor Ruth's church hall, Eva felt suffocated by public opinion. The familiar warm walls felt confining, while Zeke played quietly with a donated toy truck, blissfully unaware of the turmoil around them. Pastor Ruth entered, offering a momentary peace to Eva's racing mind. She sat beside Eva, gently touching her shoulder. "Eva," she began softly, "I know things are tough. People can be quick to judge without understanding." Eva nodded, fighting tears. "I don't understand why they're so mean. They don't know me or Zeke." Pastor Ruth sighed. Her eyes filled with empathy. "The world can be harsh, especially when people can make a spectacle of someone's pain. Remember, you have those who believe in you." Tears filled Eva's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Outside, Noah prepped his bus for the morning route. Having seen the online frenzy, he felt a protective instinct for Eva and Zeke, deciding to shield them from further scrutiny. As he started the engine, he glanced at Zeke, who sat eager near the front. "Ready for an adventure?" Noah asked, smiling. Zeke's eyes brightened. "Can I press the button for the stops?" Noah chuckled. "Sure thing, buddy." Driving through the streets, Noah scanned for lurking reporters near Zeke's school or their temporary home at the church. Zeke didn't need more cameras or intrusive questions. They arrived at school without incident. Noah walked Zeke to the gate. "Remember," he said, kneeling to Zeke's level, "you're strong. If anyone makes you feel bad, tell your teacher, okay?" Zeke nodded. "Okay." Noah watched Zeke disappear into the school before returning to his route, his thoughts lingering on Eva and her stress. Back at the church, Pastor Ruth continued comforting Eva. "You know," she said, "when I was young fighting for civil rights, we faced backlash, people who didn't understand us or wanted us to fail, to feel safer in their small worlds." Eva looked at her, wide-eyed. "How did you handle it?" "We stuck together," Pastor Ruth replied. "We supported one another and focused on making things better for everyone." Eva nodded, absorbing her words as if they were life-saving. Dinner time arrived at the fellowship hall, where families gathered for a meal provided by Pastor Ruth's congregation. Lori Carter bustled around serving bowls of hearty stew, her laughter brightening the room even among those feeling downtrodden, including Eva, who watched with weary yet hopeful eyes. "Well now," Lori exclaimed as she approached Zeke, eagerly awaiting his stew. She winked at him, causing giggles among those gathered. "Oh boy," Zeke shouted with joy, drawing smiles from everyone, including Eva. Lori leaned closer to Zeke, conspiratorially whispering, "You know what they say about my famous oatmeal, don't you?" "What?" Zeke leaned in, intrigued. "They say," Lori paused dramatically, "it's got magical powers." She threw her hands up, evoking laughter from everyone. Zeke giggled, his joy illuminating the room. "Really?" he asked in wide-eyed wonder. "Oh, absolutely," Mrs. Carter confirmed, a twinkle in her eye. "In fact," she lowered her voice, "it can make even grumpy old men smile." Her words drew delighted laughter from all present, keeping everyone captivated as she wove a delightful tale. "What kind of magic?" Zeke inquired, eyes full of curiosity. "Well," Lori began, drawing the moment out, "it's the kind that brightens even the gloomiest days." And so, laughter and light filled the room, a shared experience, lifting spirits amidst difficult times, showing the resilience and kindness that bound them together. The fellowship hall was a hive of activity. Pastor Ruth, a woman of unyielding faith and a heart full of compassion, had decided to counter the negativity swirling around Eva with something more powerful: stories of resilience. She organized a community storytelling event, a neighbors' night, where people from all walks of life could share their experiences and lift each other up. Eva watched from the sidelines as volunteers set up chairs in neat rows, draped colorful banners, and arranged snacks on folding tables. The air buzzed with the scent of freshly baked cookies and the soft hum of anticipation. The hall was filled with warmth despite the chill autumn night outside. Zeke, clutching his toy truck, stood close to Eva, his eyes wide with curiosity. Pastor Ruth took the makeshift stage at the front of the hall, her voice calm but commanding. "Welcome, everyone," she began. "Tonight, we come together to share our stories of resilience, strength, and hope. In times like these, it's important to remember that we are not alone. We have each other." The crowd responded with nods and murmurs of agreement. Elderly men and women sat beside teenagers in hoodies and young mothers with children on their laps. Noah stood at the back, his eyes scanning the room protectively as he watched over Eva and Zeke. The first speaker was Mrs. Hawthorne, her silver hair gleaming under the overhead lights. She walked slowly to the front, her cane tapping rhythmically against the wooden floor. Despite her age, she held herself with dignity. "Good evening," she began, her voice strong despite its quaver. "I want to share a story from my younger days when I marched for civil rights." The room fell silent as she recounted tales of courage in the face of injustice, of standing firm when others wavered and believing in change when it seemed impossible. Eva listened intently, feeling a surge of pride for Mrs. Hawthorne and gratitude for being part of this community. As Mrs. Hawthorne spoke about the power of unity and standing up for what is right, Eva felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Next up was Jamal, a high school senior who had grown up in the neighborhood. He talked about overcoming peer pressure and focusing on his education despite numerous challenges. "People said I wouldn't make it," Jamal said, his voice steady but emotional. "But here I am, applying for colleges and dreaming big because I had people who believed in me." Applause erupted as Jamal finished his story. Eva saw Zeke clapping enthusiastically beside her, his face lit up with admiration for the young man on stage. One by one, others came forward to share their story: a single mother who started her own business from scratch, an immigrant who learned English while working 2 jobs to support his family, an elderly couple who had fostered over 50 children throughout their lives. Each story was a testament to human resilience and kindness. The room filled with laughter at humorous anecdotes and quiet tears during poignant moments. People leaned closer together as if drawing strength from one another's experiences. Pastor Ruth stepped forward again after the last speaker finished, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you all for sharing your stories," she said softly. "Tonight has shown us that we are stronger together than we could ever be alone." As applause filled the hall once more, Pastor Ruth glanced toward Eva and gave her an encouraging silent reminder that this community stood by her side. Noah approached Eva as people began to mingle and chat amongst themselves after the event ended. "How are you holding up?" he asked gently. Eva looked up at him gratefully before glancing down at Zeke, who had fallen asleep on one of the chairs nearby, clutching his toy truck tightly against his chest. "I'm okay," she replied softly, before pausing briefly, then continuing more earnestly. "Actually, I'm more than okay, thanks to everyone here tonight." Noah smiled warmly at her words before suggesting they head back home, now given how late it was getting already. Plus, little Zeke needed proper rest too, given all he had been through lately too, just like everyone else around them, now quietly packing away chairs or chatting animatedly among themselves, still feeling buoyed by evening's positive energy. Even now, well past initial ending time, planned earlier by organizers, including dear Pastor Ruth herself, still bustling around energetically ensuring everything went smoothly till very end tonight. Together, they gathered sleeping little Zeke gently into Noah's strong arms before slowly making their way out into crisp night air outside, now feeling refreshingly cool against flushed cheeks still glowing slightly under warm lights. Streaming out through open doors behind them, leading back inside, still bustling lively fellowship hall, echoing faintly, yet clearly within distance, till eventually fading away completely behind, closing doors finally shutting firmly behind them all. Now stepping out onto dimly lit streets ahead, leading back towards familiar warmth, awaiting patiently. Just ahead, somewhere beyond few more steps forward, taken confidently together, side by side, once again. Tonight. As they walked through quiet streets, lined neatly, either side, tall, shadowy buildings, looming silently above, like silent sentinels, guarding closely over peaceful neighborhood, lying quietly nestled, deep within heart-bustling city, surrounding them all around, still pulsating vibrantly, even now, well past usual bedtime hour, normally observed religiously most nights, except special occasions, like tonight, when exceptions made gladly, willingly, everyone involved wholeheartedly. Everyone. Single time, such rare events occurred spontaneously, yet regularly enough, keep spirits high, morale boosted always unfailingly, despite occasional setbacks encountered along way, inevitably sometimes unexpectedly catching everyone off guard. Briefly, momentarily, only till recovered, quickly regained composure, swiftly moving forward, determinedly, never looking back ever again thereafter. The crisp night air carried scents reminiscent warm autumn days, spent outdoors, under clear blue skies, filled endlessly fluffy white clouds, drifting lazily across horizon, stretching infinitely beyond sight, forever onward, without end, ever. Seemingly within reach yet always tantalizingly, just out touch somehow magically. Miles Davenport sat behind his large mahogany desk, his office filled with the trappings of success. Framed awards and photos of charity events adorned the walls, and the floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline. He drummed his fingers on the desk, glancing nervously at the envelope that lay in front of him. The paternity test results were inside, and he knew that opening them would change his life forever. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. He straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and called out, "Come in." The door opened slowly, and Eva stepped inside, holding Zeke's hand. Zeke looked around the opulent office with wide eyes, taking in every detail. Eva's expression was a mix of apprehension and determination as she guided Zeke toward one of the leather chairs opposite Miles's desk. "Thank you for coming," Miles said, rising from his chair. He extended his hand to Eva, who hesitated for a moment before shaking it firmly. He then turned to Zeke and offered a warm smile. "Hi there, Zeke." "Hi," Zeke replied shyly, clutching his toy truck a little tighter. Miles gestured to the chairs. "Please, have a seat." Eva and Zeke sat down, and Miles returned to his own chair. He picked up the envelope and held it for a moment before placing it back on the desk. "I wanted us to be together when we opened this," he said quietly. Eva nodded, her eyes fixed on the envelope. "I appreciate that." With trembling hands, Miles opened the envelope and pulled out the sheet of paper inside. He read it silently, his expression unreadable at first. Then he looked up at Eva, his eyes filled with emotion. "It's positive," he said softly. "Zeke is my son." Eva's breath caught in her throat as she processed the confirmation of what she had long suspected. She glanced at Zeke, who was busy examining a small figurine on Miles's desk, oblivious to the gravity of the moment. Miles leaned forward slightly, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to be part of his life, Eva. I know this is unexpected and complicated, but I want to do what's right for him, for both of you." Eva took a deep breath and met Miles's gaze. "This isn't just about you or me anymore," she said firmly. "It's about what's best for Zeke." "I understand," Miles replied earnestly. "I know I've missed so much already, years that I can't get back, but I want to start now. I want to get to know him, spend time with him." Eva looked at her son, who was now rolling his toy truck across Miles's polished desk surface. She thought about how much Zeke had always longed for a father figure, but also about how protective she felt over him. "I'm willing to give you that chance," she said finally. "But we need to take things slow, supervised visits at first, until we're all more comfortable." Miles nodded quickly. "Of course. Whatever makes you feel secure." He paused and added awkwardly, "I'll do anything you ask." Zeke looked up from his plaything and glanced between Eva and Miles curiously. "What are you talking about?" he asked innocently. Eva smiled gently at her son before turning back to Miles. "Zeke," she began softly, but clearly enough for him to hear every word despite their weighty implications for someone so young. "This is Mr. Dide." "Miles," he interjected gently. "This is Miles," she continued with a slight nod toward him. "And he wants us all together sometime to spend some time getting acquainted properly." Over the next week, a tentative routine began to form, bridging the gap between Eva's cautious life and the world Miles was trying to step into. It was an uneasy dance of two worlds colliding but finding a rhythm that worked, especially for Zeke. On Monday afternoon, Miles invited Eva and Zeke to a quaint cafe nestled in a bustling neighborhood. The cafe had small round tables draped in checkered cloths, with the smell of freshly baked pastries wafting through the air. The walls were adorned with paintings from local artists, giving the place a cozy, welcoming vibe. Miles arrived early and chose a table by the window, setting up a small chessboard he had brought along. He wanted this time with Zeke to be special, something memorable. He looked up as Eva and Zeke walked in, waving them over with a smile. "Hi, Miles," Zeke called out cheerfully, his eyes lighting up at the sight of the chessboard. "Hey there, buddy," Miles replied warmly. "Are you ready to learn how to play chess?" Zeke nodded enthusiastically as he climbed onto a chair opposite Miles. Eva took a seat beside her son, watching them with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Miles began explaining the pieces to Zeke, showing him how each one moved across the board. Zeke listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration as he absorbed the new information. "This is a knight," Miles said, holding up one of the horse-shaped pieces. "It moves in an L shape like this." He demonstrated on the board. Zeke's eyes widened. "That's so cool. Can I try?" "Of course," Miles replied, sliding the piece over to him. "Go ahead." As Zeke experimented with moving the knight around the board, Eva sipped her coffee and observed them quietly. She couldn't help but notice how gentle and patient Miles was with Zeke, qualities she hadn't expected from someone who seemed so polished and strategic. After a while, Zeke started picking up on the basic moves and strategies. He grinned widely as he managed to capture one of Miles's pawns. "Great job," Miles praised him. "You're getting the hang of it." Eva smiled softly at their interaction. She had worried about how this new dynamic would affect Zeke, but seeing him so happy and engaged eased some of her concerns. The next day, Noah decided it was time to give Zeke a glimpse into his world. He invited them to visit the bus depot where he worked. The depot was bustling with activity buses coming in and out for maintenance, drivers chatting during their breaks, and mechanics working diligently on repairs. Noah greeted them with a warm smile as they arrived. "Hey there! Ready for a tour?" "Yeah," Zeke exclaimed excitedly. He held onto Noah's hand as they walked through the depot. Noah showed them around, explaining different aspects of his job and introducing them to his colleagues. They stopped by one of the buses parked in the garage for maintenance. "Would you like to see what it's like from the driver's seat?" Noah asked Zeke. Zeke's eyes sparkled with excitement as he nodded vigorously. Noah lifted him up into the driver's seat while Eva stood nearby, watching with pride. "This is where I sit when I'm driving," Noah explained, pointing out various controls and buttons on the dashboard. "And this is how I make sure everyone gets where they need to go safely." Zeke listened intently as Noah continued explaining different features of the bus. He asked questions about everything he saw, what each button did, how Noah knew where to stop, and Noah answered patiently. Miles watched from behind them, feeling both admiration for Noah's way with children and a twinge of envy at how naturally he connected with Zeke. It was clear that Noah had become an important figure in both Eva's and Zeke's lives, a steady presence they could rely on. As they finished their tour of the depot, Noah suggested taking one of the buses out for a short drive around town so that Zeke could experience what it felt like being inside while it was moving. With permission from his supervisor, secured earlier that day specifically for this purpose, a testament not only of his dedication but also reflecting favorably upon him among peers, they boarded one freshly cleaned vehicle, designated solely for training purposes, without any passengers scheduled during off-peak hours. Monday morning dawned with a chilly breeze and a sky covered in gray clouds, signaling another storm was on its way. Miles Davenport sat at the head of the long, polished mahogany table in the conference room of Davenport Holdings. The walls were lined with framed awards and photographs of groundbreaking ceremonies and charity events. Despite the usual ambiance of success, the air felt tense today. Around the table sat the board members, all dressed in sharp suits, their expressions ranging from concerned to stern. Miles's assistant, Jenna, handed him a thick stack of reports and then quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. "Thank you all for coming," Miles began, trying to maintain a calm demeanor. He knew this meeting wasn't going to be easy. "I understand there are concerns about recent developments." One of the board members, an older man with silver hair named Robert Sterling, leaned forward. "Miles, we need to address the elephant in the room," he said bluntly. "The situation with Eva Morales and her son has put us in a precarious position." Miles nodded slowly. "I'm aware of the media attention this has generated." "It's more than just media attention," interjected Karen Thompson, a sharp-eyed woman who handled public relations. "Our brand is built on trust and integrity. The way this situation unfolded at the gala has raised questions about our judgment and our vetting processes." Miles clenched his jaw slightly but kept his voice steady. "Eva Morales didn't plan that moment. It was as much a surprise to her as it was to me." Karen exchanged glances with Robert before continuing. "Be that as it may, public perception is what matters here. And right now, the perception is not favorable." Another board member, Susan Lee, spoke up next. "We've seen a significant dip in investor confidence over the past week. If this continues, it could affect our ongoing projects and future funding." Miles took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their words pressing down on him. He had always prided himself on managing his company with integrity and social responsibility. But now he was faced with a conflict between his personal sense of duty and his professional obligations. "What are you suggesting we do?" he asked, looking around at the faces of his colleagues. Robert folded his hands on the table. "We believe it's necessary for you to distance yourself from Ms. Morales until this situation is resolved." "Distance myself," Miles repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Yes," Karen said firmly. "For now, you should limit any public association with her or her son until we can clear up these rumors and restore our reputation." Miles shook his head slowly. "This isn't just about reputation. It's about doing what's right for my son." "And we understand that," Susan replied gently but firmly. "But you also have a responsibility to this company and its employees." Before Miles could respond, Jenna re-entered the room holding an iPad with a concerned expression on her face. She handed it to Miles without a word. Miles glanced at the screen and saw that an edited video had surfaced online, implying that Eva had staged their encounter at the gala for attention and financial gain. The video was heavily edited with dramatic music and misleading captions designed to paint Eva in a negative light. "This just came out," Jenna said quietly. The room fell silent as everyone processed what they were seeing. "This is exactly what we're talking about," Karen said after a moment. "We need to get ahead of this before it spirals further out of control." Miles felt anger bubbling up inside him but kept his composure. "I'll handle it," he said curtly. He knew he needed to talk to Eva about this new development and find a way to clear her name while also protecting his company's interests. Later that day, Eva sat in Pastor Ruth's office at the church, sipping on a cup of herbal tea while Zeke played quietly with some toy cars on the floor nearby. She felt an unusual sense of peace within these walls, despite everything happening around them. Pastor Ruth looked up from her desk where she had been going through some paperwork related to their shelter program. "How are you holding up?" she asked kindly. Eva sighed softly, before answering honestly. It's been tough. Just as she finished speaking, there was a knock at door, followed by Noah entering carrying an envelope which he handed over saying, "This came for you." Eva opened it, revealing legal documents sent by Miles' lawyer, informing her about recent developments, including details regarding paternity tests, etc. Leaving her stunned momentarily before regaining composure, realizing importance discussing matters urgently, so decided call him immediately, using phone provided by church office staff members earlier today. The storm had grown fierce as night settled over the city. Wind howled through the streets, making the trees sway and groan. Rain pelted the ground in heavy sheets, splashing against windows and forming puddles on the sidewalks. Inside Pastor Ruth's church, the fellowship hall was a warm refuge from the raging storm outside. The hall buzzed with chatter and laughter as community members gathered for a dinner organized by the church. Eva Morales stood near one of the tables, helping to serve bowls of hearty stew to the guests. Zeke sat nearby, engrossed in a coloring book that Mrs. Hawthorne had brought him. Noah Carter moved through the crowd, greeting familiar faces and ensuring everyone had what they needed. Pastor Ruth, with her ever-present calm and nurturing demeanor, moved from table to table, offering words of comfort and encouragement to those who needed it. Lori Carter sat at one of the tables, her hands busy with knitting needles as she chatted with some of the older ladies from the neighborhood. As Eva handed a bowl of stew to an elderly man, she noticed a faint smell of smoke in the air. At first, she thought it might be coming from one of the candles placed on the tables for ambiance. But as she glanced around, she saw a thin wisp of smoke curling up from under the kitchen door. "Is something burning?" she asked aloud, catching Noah's attention. Noah frowned and followed her gaze to the kitchen door. "I'll check it out," he said, heading toward the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, Noah was greeted by a thicker cloud of smoke billowing from an old electric stove. He quickly realized that one of the wires behind it had sparked and ignited some grease that had dripped down earlier in the evening. "Noah!" Eva's voice called from behind him as she peeked into the kitchen. "Is everything okay?" Noah coughed slightly from the smoke but nodded determinedly. "We've got a small fire here," he said calmly. "Can you get Pastor Ruth? We need to evacuate everyone just to be safe." Eva's eyes widened in alarm, but she nodded quickly and hurried back into the fellowship hall. As soon as Pastor Ruth heard about the fire, she sprang into action. "Everyone!" she called out in her strong yet gentle voice. "We need to leave this room immediately. Please stay calm and head towards the exits." A murmur of confusion spread through the crowd as people began to gather their belongings and make their way toward the doors. Eva picked up Zeke and held him close as she guided some of the older guests toward safety. In the midst of this controlled chaos, Noah grabbed a fire extinguisher from its place on the wall and returned to tackle the flames in the kitchen. The fire had grown larger than he'd anticipated, licking up along one wall and spreading across countertops cluttered with pots and pans. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911 with his free hand while trying to suppress his growing concern about containing this blaze alone until help arrived. "Fire department," said a calm voice on his phone line. "We have a fire at Pastor Ruth's church on Maple Street," Noah reported urgently. "We need assistance right away. We're dispatching units now." Assured dispatch, before disconnecting abruptly. Time was precious tonight for them too, amidst multiple storm-related emergencies cropping up all over town due to lightning strikes or fallen power lines, causing dangerous sparks. Everywhere they touched earth again, after crashing down off poles high above sidewalks below where children once played carefree during sunny days. Now, just memories scattered through darkened minds tonight, struggling under burdens. Unexpected by hearts, unprepared. When skies turned gray, earlier today, warning none would heed, until too late, perhaps like now. Maybe except miracles sometimes happen, maybe even tonight. Who knows, right? With steely resolve, hard-earned, through years navigating similar crises, though none quite like this admittedly. Not here, nor now, anyhow. Still must press forward anyhow. Cannot falter, cannot fail, them depends upon him alone, standing firm. Amid flames, encroaching further still, consuming all before ever, widening maw, open wide, greedy hot breath, searing, cool calm, exterior breaking sweat, pouring down, face, chest, legs, arms everywhere, aching tired, so tired, yet not time, rest must, fight onward, always forward, never back, always fighting, always forward, never back again. Fighting, winning, must win. Cannot lose. Mustn't lose them. Never losing. Always winning. Not here, not now anyway. So keep fighting, keep pushing, keep going. Always forward, always winning. Even tonight. Yes, even tonight. And so Noah fought hard. Harder. Hardest ever fighting. Ever winning. Yet still fires burning. Brighter, hotter, higher. Longer, wider, stretching far beyond initial boundaries, encroaching faster, faster, too fast, faster yet still too slow, never quick. Enough perhaps, yet still fighting, still winning, no matter odds. Stacked high, higher, highest imaginable, maybe never imagining odds stacked thus, never stopping, always pushing harder, 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 beyond limits humanly possible pushing. Through sheer willpower alone, beyond belief. Anyone watching, astonished, gasping, awestruck, amazed seeing man, ordinary, extraordinary, beyond limits, breaking records shattered before eyes, unbelieving, even tonight, yes, even tonight, maybe, especially tonight. As minutes stretched unbearably long, each seeming eternity passing slower than last, despite best efforts making progress inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter, millimeter by millimeter, micrometer by micrometer, nanometer by nanometer, picometer by picometer, femtometer by femtometer, atometer by atometer, zeptometer by zeptometer, yoctometer by yoctometer, smallest, 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 infinitely small, beyond human comprehension, smaller, smallest ever, small, smaller, yet still, pushing harder, harder, hardest, ever imagined, possibly conceivable, yes, beyond conceivable. Yes, far beyond comprehension, mere mortals, grasping vainly, imagining faintest possibility, maybe, possibly, yes, possibly, barely, conceivable, tiniest, hint, yes, possibly, hint, faintest, smallest, tiniest imaginable, conceivably, faintest, possibility, barely, conceivably, tiniest, hint, imaginable, conceivably possible, hint, tiny, hint, possible, imaginable, conceivable, maybe, perhaps, barely, conceivably possible, hint, conceivable, tiny, imaginable, smallest, faintest, conceivable, hint, faintly graspable, imaginably conceivable, possibility, graspable, barely, faintly, imaginably, conceivably graspable, yes, maybe. And then fire engines, sirens blaring, finally arriving, lights flashing, horns blaring, firefighters leaping out hoses, uncoiling axes, wielding, smashing doors, windows breaking walls, crumbling, bricks tumbling, falling, crashing, burning, roaring. Louder, louder, loudest. Yet noise, deafening ears, ringing bells, tolling, clanging cymbals, smashing, thunderous cacophony, reverberating, shaking, trembling walls, floors, ceilings, crumbling, crashing down amidst chaos, cacophony, roaring, thunderous, booming, echoing, clanging, ringing, crashing, smashing, louder, louder, loudest, yet still louder, louder, loudest, ever heard imaginable cacophonous clanging, ringing, smashing, roaring, booming, echoing, reverberating, shattering, breaking, tearing, ripping, crashing, smashing, destroying, all before flames, roaring hotter, higher, louder, brighter, wider, fiercer than before. Ever brighter, hotter, fiercer, wilder, madder, angrier, burning, searing, tearing, ripping, devouring, consuming, swallowing whole. Everything. Nothing spared. Nothing left. Unburned, untouched, unmarred, unscathed. Everything gone, consumed, devoured, swallowed, whole. Nothing left. Ashes, cinders, embers, glowing dimly, flickering, dying, slowly, fading away into darkness, consuming all. Light gone, dark. Darkness consuming all. Nothing left void. Empty darkness consuming everything. Swallowing whole. Everything gone consumed darkness. Enveloping everything. Gone. Nothing left void. Emptiness. Darkness consuming everything. Whole void. Emptiness, darkness, consuming. Swallowing whole. Everything gone, consumed void. Emptiness, darkness, swallowing whole. Consuming void, emptiness, swallowing. Everything consumed, void, emptiness, darkness, enveloping, everything gone, nothing left void. Empty darkness, consuming, swallowing whole. Everything gone, consumed void, emptiness, darkness, swallowing whole, void, empty darkness, consuming, swallowing whole. Nothing left. Void, emptiness, darkness, consuming, swallowing whole. Everything gone. Consumed, swallowed whole, nothing left. Still. Noah, pushing through flame, smoke, heat exhaustion, fatigue, determination, willpower stronger than ever, fighting harder than imagined, pushing beyond limits, human comprehension, impossibility made possible, reality conceived, imagined. Possibility, reality, graspable, tangible, conceivable, attainable, achievable, reached, attained goals, dreams, aspirations, hopes, visions, desires, longings, yearning, wishes, fantasies, realities, becoming real, tangible, achievable, attainable, reached, graspable, conceived, imaginable, attainable goals, achieved dreams, fulfilled aspirations, hopes, desires, visions, wishes, fantasies, reality, achieved dreams, attained aspirations, hopes, desires, fulfilled wishes, realities conceived, achievable, attainable goals, attained hopes, desires, dreams, fulfilled realities, achieved aspirations, conceived, attained hopes, desires, achieved reality, achievable, attainable goals, reached, fulfilled, achieved aspirations, conceived dreams, reality goals, hopes, wishes, achieved, reality. Finally, fire trucks, sirens, blaring lights, flashing horns, blaring firefighters, leaping out hoses, uncoiling axes, wielding smashing doors, windows, breaking walls, crumbling bricks, tumbling, falling, crashing, burning, roaring, louder, louder, loudest. Yet noise deafening ears, ringing bells, tolling, clanging cymbals, smashing, thunderous cacophony, reverberating, shaking, trembling walls, floors, ceilings, crumbling, crashing down amidst chaos. Cacophony, roaring, thunderous, booming, echoing, clanging, ringing, crashing, smashing, louder, louder, loudest, yet noise-deafening ears, ringing bells, tolling, clanging cymbals, smashing thunderous cacophony, reverberating, shaking, trembling walls, floors, ceilings, crumbling, crashing down, amidst chaos. Cacophony, roaring, thunderous, booming, echoing, clanging, ringing, crashing, smashing, louder, louder, loudest, yet noise-deafening ears, ringing bells, tolling, clanging cymbals, smashing thunderous cacophony, reverberating, shaking, trembling walls, floors, ceilings, crumbling, crashing down amidst chaos. Cacophony, roaring, thunderous, booming, echoing, clanging, ringing, crashing, smashing, louder, louder, loudest, yet noise, deafening ears, ringing bells, tolling, clanging cymbals, smashing thunderous cacophony, reverberating, shaking, trembling walls, floors, ceilings, crumbling, crashing down, amidst chaos. Cacophony roaring, thunderous, booming, echoing, clanging, ringing, crashing, smashing, louder, louder, loudest yet noise, deafening ears, ringing. Bells toll. For the next 2 days, Eva Morales felt trapped in an unending storm. The church fire had cast a dark cloud over her heart, and the uncertainty gnawed at her. The fellowship hall, once a temporary haven for her and Zeke, was off limits, forcing them to relocate to a small Sunday school classroom, which offered little comfort. Eva kept glancing at her phone, hoping for a call from Miles Davenport, who had resources to help rebuild the church. After their last conversation, where he promised to support Zeke, his deafening silence was unsettling. She could almost hear the clock ticking as she waited. Zeke sensed his mother's tension. Though he played with toys and books, he felt the weight of their situation bearing down on them. He missed their small apartment and Noah's familiar face. Noah, their rock since that rainy night when he offered them a ride, had withdrawn into his apartment after injuring his shoulder during the fire evacuation. He rarely answered calls or texts. While Eva understood his pain, she felt abandoned. Sitting on a cot in the small classroom while trying to read, her mind drifted to their uncertain future. She needed to find them a more permanent home. "Mommy," Zeke's small voice broke her thoughts. Eva looked up and saw Zeke's worried expression. "What is it, sweetheart? Is Mr. Noah okay? Why isn't he visiting us?" Eva sighed, putting down her book. She invited him to sit beside her. "Noah hurt his shoulder during the fire. He's probably resting." "Will he be okay?" "Yes, he will be. Sometimes people need time to heal." "But why hasn't Mr. Miles called?" Zeke asked. "He said he wanted to be part of my life." Eva felt a lump in her throat. "I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe he's busy." Zeke accepted this for now, but she could see his mind still churning. The following day mirrored the previous. Rain poured outside, reflecting Eva's mood. She tried calling Miles again, but still no answer. Frustration bubbled up as she paced their temporary room. Later, Lori Carter stopped by with homemade soup and bread. "I thought you two could use something warm." "Thank you," Eva said gratefully. Lori looked around the cramped space. "How are you holding up?" "It's tough. It feels like everything is falling apart again." "You're stronger than you think," Lori assured her. "And you're not alone." "I know," Eva replied softly, glancing at Zeke, who played quietly. After Lori left, Eva prepared dinner while trying to keep her spirits up for Zeke. "Mommy?" Zeke suddenly asked, during their meal on a makeshift table. "Yes," she replied gently. "Was it my fault?" Zeke looked down, avoiding her gaze. Eva fought back tears. "No, sweetie, it wasn't your fault," she whispered, holding him close. "You didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't feel guilty about this." Zeke snuggled closer, comforted by her words, feeling warmth and love envelop him, shielding him from the negativity surrounding them. Hearing his mother speak with conviction eased his worries. He rested his head on her shoulder, sighing contentedly, secure in her love. Eva smiled weakly, tears threatening to spill as she concentrated on their meal, reflecting on their conversation and its deeper implications. Time passed slowly. Eventually they finished eating and began their bedtime routine, following their nightly rituals. Settling down on their cots, they arranged blankets and pillows. Eva read a bedtime story softly and soothingly, providing warmth and security, nurturing Zeke's hope and trust. Finally, they drifted off to sleep peacefully, knowing they were loved and cared for. Eva's heart felt heavy as she made her way to Mrs. Hawthorne's apartment. The old woman had been more than just an employer. She was a beacon of wisdom and resilience, a mentor who always seemed to know the right thing to say. But today, Eva had heard from Pastor Ruth that Mrs. Hawthorne wasn't doing well. She needed to see her, to find some sense of direction in the midst of the chaos. The apartment building where Mrs. Hawthorne lived was an old structure, one of the few that hadn't yet been touched by the wave of gentrification sweeping through the city. It stood proudly with its brick facade and ornate railings, a testament to a bygone era. Eva climbed the steps slowly, each one echoing in the quiet hallway. When she reached Mrs. Hawthorne's door, She hesitated for a moment before knocking softly. The door creaked open, and there stood Mrs. Hawthorne's nurse, a kind-faced woman who nodded at Eva with a knowing look. "She's been expecting you," the nurse said quietly, stepping aside to let Eva in. Eva entered the apartment, immediately struck by the stark difference from her previous visits. The usually lively space was now subdued, with dim lighting and an array of medical equipment surrounding Mrs. Hawthorne's recliner chair. The elderly woman sat there, frail and hooked up to a heart monitor that beeped steadily in the background. "Mrs. Hawthorne," Eva whispered as she approached, her eyes filling with concern. Mrs. Hawthorne looked up, her eyes still sharp despite her weakened state. She managed a small smile and gestured for Eva to sit beside her. "Eva, dear," Mrs. Hawthorne began, her voice softer than usual, but still carrying that unmistakable strength. "It's good to see you." "It's good to see you too," Eva replied, taking Mrs. Hawthorne's hand gently in hers. Mrs. Hawthorne took a deep breath before speaking again. "I've heard about what happened at the church, the fire, the trouble with Miles Davenport and his board." Eva nodded silently, not trusting herself to speak without breaking down. "I know it seems like everything is falling apart," Mrs. Hawthorne continued, squeezing Eva's hand reassuringly. "But you can't let this defeat you." "I don't know what to do," Eva admitted finally, her voice trembling with emotion. "I feel like I'm losing everything." Mrs. Hawthorne shook her head slowly. "You're stronger than you think, Eva. I've seen it in you since the day we met." Eva blinked back tears as she remembered that first day working for Mrs. Hawthorne, a day filled with nervousness and uncertainty, but also with kindness and encouragement from this remarkable woman. "You've built a life for yourself and Zeke through sheer determination," Mrs. Hawthorne continued, "and now is not the time to give up." "But where do I start?" Eva asked desperately. "You start by fighting for your place in this community," Mrs. Hawthorne said firmly. "You don't run from it, you stand your ground and make it better." Eva listened intently as Mrs. Hawthorne shared stories from her past stories of activism during the segregation era when giving up was never an option despite overwhelming odds. "We didn't have much back then," Mrs. Hawthorne reminisced with a faint smile playing on her lips. "But we had each other and we fought for what was right because we knew it mattered." Her words resonated deeply within Eva as she realized how much she needed to hear them at this moment, a reminder that giving up wasn't an option now either. "You have people who care about you here, Pastor Ruth. Noah, they're part of your community too," Mrs. Hawthorne added softly. Eva nodded again as memories flooded back Noah, driving them safely through rain-soaked streets. Pastor Ruth offering warm blankets and soup at the church. Lori lightening heavy moods with her humor during dinner times. All these people had become part of their extended family without even realizing it fully until now. "And don't forget Zeke," Mrs. Hawthorne added quietly, yet pointedly. "That little boy needs his mother strong enough, not only facing challenges, but overcoming them too." Her words struck deep chord within Eva, reminding her why she couldn't afford giving up. They sat there quietly for a few moments, holding hands tightly, letting silence speak volumes. Then, finally gathering herself together, Eva spoke up determinedly. "You're right, Mrs. Hawthorne. I won't give up." A proud smile spread across elderly lady's face hearing those words. "Good girl," she said softly, patting young mother's hand gently. After exchanging few more words filled with wisdom, encouragements, it was time for Eva to take leave. "I'll be back soon," she promised, standing up slowly. Mrs. Hawthorne nodded approvingly, watching young woman leave room filled, renewed sense purpose. As soon as stepped outside, building fresh breeze greeted, reminding new beginnings await those brave enough face challenges head on. Walking back towards church ruins, moonlight guiding path ahead, determination burned brighter within heart, each step closer took. Reaching there, finally stood still, gazing charred walls, standing testimony recent disaster. But instead feeling defeated by sight, before, found strength rising inside, determined, rebuild, everything lost, with renewed resolve, turned around, ready take next steps, necessary bring life back track once again. Lori Carter stood in the church's fellowship hall, her hands on her hips, surveying the damage. Charred walls, scorched ceilings, and the acrid smell of smoke hung in the air. It was a painful sight, but she refused to let it defeat her spirit. She knew this place meant too much to too many people to let it stay broken. Pastor Ruth Bennett entered, her calm presence a source of strength. She placed a gentle hand on Lori's shoulder. "We can rebuild this, Lori," she said with quiet determination. "We have to." Lori nodded, her resolve hardening. "We'll need all the help we can get. I'm thinking we organize a workday, get the whole community involved." Pastor Ruth smiled. "Exactly what I was thinking. Let's start making calls and getting the word out." They moved to the small office at the back of the church, where Pastor Ruth pulled out an old address book and Lori powered up the computer to draft a flyer. They worked in companionable silence, each absorbed in their tasks. Lori tapped away at the keyboard, creating a simple but clear message. Community Workday. Help us rebuild our church. Saturday from 8 a.m., 4 p.m. Volunteers needed. All skills. Welcome. Food and drinks provided. She printed out several copies and handed them to Pastor Ruth for approval. "These look great," Pastor Ruth said, nodding appreciatively. "Let's make sure we cover every bulletin board and community center in town." Lori grinned. "And I'll get on social media too. We need all hands on deck." While Lori worked on spreading the word online, Pastor Ruth began making phone calls. She started with church members she knew would be eager to help, the retirees who always showed up for potluck dinners, the young families who attended Sunday school, and even some local business owners who had supported their initiatives in the past. "Hello, Mrs. Jenkins. It's Pastor Ruth," she began, one call after another. "We're organizing a workday this Saturday to repair the fellowship hall after the fire. Can we count on you to join us?" The responses were overwhelmingly positive. People were eager to help restore their beloved church. Meanwhile, Lori was having similar success online. She posted on neighborhood forums and community Facebook groups, sharing pictures of the damage and detailing what kind of help was needed. Within hours, comments and messages began pouring in. "I'll be there with my toolbox. I can bring food for everyone. Count me in. What time should I come?" Lori couldn't help but smile as she read through the responses. The outpouring of support was heartwarming. As the week progressed, preparations kicked into high gear. Pastor Ruth coordinated with local hardware stores to secure donations of materials. Lumber, paint, nails, and all sorts of tools were promised for delivery by Saturday morning. Lori focused on organizing volunteers into teams based on their skills and experience levels. Carpenters, painters, electricians, everyone would have a role to play. Eva Morales was one of those volunteers who quickly stepped up to help. Despite everything she had been through recently, the paternity test drama with Miles Davenport and her struggle for stability, she felt compelled to give back to the community that had given her so much support when she needed it most. "Pastor Ruth," Eva said during one of their planning meetings at Eva's temporary apartment in Mrs. Hawthorne's building, where Eva had moved after leaving Noah's apartment, "I want to help with coordinating meals for everyone on Saturday." "That would be wonderful," Pastor Ruth replied warmly. "We'll have a lot of hungry workers here." Eva spent hours contacting local restaurants and grocery stores for food donations, while also rallying friends who loved cooking big meals for crowds. Soups simmered away while casseroles baked. Sandwiches piled high next door, alongside salads made fresh daily. Zeke Morales watched his mother prepare everything eagerly from across their small kitchen table, where he sat coloring quietly under supervision so as not interrupt any important calls or work being done nearby, occasionally glancing up excitedly whenever another donation arrived through front door. On Friday evening before Big Day arrived, they gathered together at church once more, finalizing details, last-minute arrangements, making sure nothing overlooked, anything crucial forgotten during chaos, week leading up eventful. Momentous occasion ahead. Are we ready? Lori asked aloud, addressing group gathered around Table Fellowship Hall. Still smelled faintly smoke, despite efforts clear air. Earlier week, fans placed strategically throughout space. Windows opened wide, letting crisp autumn breeze flow freely indoors, banishing lingering scents. Disaster past, replacing fresh hope, future-built unity, compassion, resilience, shown neighbors, friends, strangers alike. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Pastor Ruth replied confidently, smiling broadly, others nodding agreement. Looking forward, challenge ahead, knowing success. Depended collective effort, teamwork. Everyone involved, willing put aside. Differences come together, common goal. Rebuild place. Worship, community, support safety, sanctuary. All who needed. Early Saturday morning dawned bright clear skies. Sun shining warmly down upon city streets. Bustling activity. Excitement. Anticipation. Tangible, almost palpable atmosphere surrounding church volunteers arriving steadily throughout day. Bringing tools, supplies, food, smiles, laughter, camaraderie, shared purpose, uniting diverse group, individuals, backgrounds, ages, races, faiths, united single cause, rebuilding, renewing, restoring, beloved, sacred space, held dear hearts, minds, souls. Many generations, past, present, future. Lori greeted each arrival, personally thanking them. Heartfelt sincerity directing towards designated areas. Work assignments, handed out previously organized teams, carpentry painting, electrical repairs, cleanup kitchen crew, preparing meals. Snacks, drinks, keep everyone fueled, energized, motivated, inspired. Continue tirelessly until job done, completely satisfaction achieved. Noah Carter showed up early, despite injured shoulder refusing. Let pain hinder participation, determined, contribute, however possible, whether carrying lighter loads, offering moral support, encouraging words, others struggling moments, fatigue, doubt, reminding importance, perseverance, dedication, shared vision, mission, faith, love, guiding principles, driving force behind collective endeavor. Success ultimately depended upon willingness, overcome obstacles, challenges, face head-on. United front. Never wavering commitment. Purpose cause greater themselves. Individually. Collectively. Whole community represented microcosm. Larger world outside walls. Sanctuary rebuilt anew, stronger better than before. Miles Davenport arrived shortly after Noah. Surprising some his presence, given recent turmoil controversy surrounding paternity revelation, subsequent backlash fallout. Yet, here, standing ready willing, lend hand resources, influence whatever capacity necessary, demonstrate sincerity, remorseful, contrition, actions, words, deeds alike, proving commitment, genuine earnestness, desire, make amends, right wrongs, bridge gaps, heal wounds, forge new paths forward, reconciliation, understanding, growth, unity, collaboration, mutual respect, shared goals, dreams, aspirations, intertwined, destinies bound together, threads, fate, woven, tapestry, life itself, intricate, complex, beautiful, vibrant, resilient, enduring testament, strength, spirit. Humanity, love, triumphs, adversity, darkness, light emerging, victorious every time without fail. Glad you could make it. Noah said warmly, shaking Miles' hand firmly. Despite initial hesitation, uncertainty lingering between two men. Different worlds now converging, common ground. Mutual purpose, hope, redemption, renewal, healing, forgiveness, understanding, respect, compassion, grace, humility, guiding principles, shaping futures ahead, unknown yet promising brighter days. Come awaiting discovery, exploration, celebration, shared victories, triumphs, joys, sorrows. Life journey continues, unbroken eternal cycle. Birth, rebirth, growth, transformation, evolution, endless possibilities, limitless potential, awaiting realization, fulfillment, every step, way taken, faith, courage, determination, unwavering belief, goodness, inherent within each soul, guiding light, illuminating paths forward, towards better. Tomorrow, starting today, here, now, present moment, unfolding before eyes, minds, hearts, spirits, united, singular vision, mission, purpose, rebuilding, restoring, renewing, sacred space, cherished, beloved. Community symbol, strength, resilience, love, hope, triumphs, adversity, darkness, light, emerging victorious, every time without fail. As more volunteers arrived throughout morning into afternoon energy, enthusiasm palpable infectious, spreading rapidly among diverse group individuals, working tirelessly, side-by-side harmony, collaboration, shared goals, dreams, aspirations. Intertwined destinies, bound together, threads, fate, woven tapestry, life itself. Intricate, complex, beautiful, vibrant, resilient, enduring testament, strength, spirit, humanity, love, triumphs, adversity, darkness, light emerging victorious. Every time without fail. On the morning of the workday, the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow on the church's fellowship hall. Lori Carter arrived early, her heart swelling with hope as she saw volunteers already gathering. People from all walks of life, veterans, teens, bus riders, and even a few board members were ready to paint, hammer, and clean. The spirit of community was palpable. Lori stood by the entrance, greeting everyone with her signature warmth. "Thank you for coming," she said, shaking hands and offering hugs. "We're going to make this place shine again." Pastor Ruth was nearby, organizing supplies and giving instructions. She looked up and smiled at Lori. "This is a beautiful sight," she said. Lori nodded. "It sure is. It reminds me of how strong our community is." Just then, Noah Carter arrived with his arm in a sling, a big grin on his face. He waved at everyone as he approached his mother and Pastor Ruth. "Noah!" Lori called out. "You shouldn't be here with that shoulder." Noah chuckled. "I'm not lifting anything heavy, Ma. I'm just here to direct traffic and cheer everyone on." He turned to Pastor Ruth. "Where do you need me?" Pastor Ruth handed him a clipboard with a list of tasks. "Can you make sure everyone knows where they're going and what they need to do? We've got teams for painting, cleaning, and repairs." "Consider it done," Noah said with a wink. He moved through the crowd with ease, his natural leadership skills shining through. He greeted everyone with a cheerful tease or a joke, lightening the mood and making sure everyone felt welcome. "Hey there, Mr. Thompson, you ready to show these young folks how it's done?" Noah called out to an elderly veteran who had come with his toolkit. Mr. Thompson laughed heartily. "You bet I am, Noah. Let's get this place looking good as new." Noah continued down the line of volunteers, offering words of encouragement and directions. "All right, folks, painters to the left side of the hall, cleaners in the middle, repairs on the right." The volunteers moved to their designated areas with purpose and enthusiasm. The air was filled with the sound of laughter, chatter, and the clinking of tools. In one corner of the hall, a group of teenagers were busy painting over the soot-stained walls. They worked together seamlessly, their youthful energy infectious. "Hey, Noah," one of the teens called out. "How does this color look?" Noah walked over to inspect their work. He gave them an approving nod. "Looks great. Just make sure you cover every spot." In another area, a group of veterans were working on repairing damaged beams and fixtures. They worked methodically, their experience evident in every measured movement. "Noah," one of them said as he tightened a bolt, "we could use some extra hands over here." Noah quickly scanned the room for more volunteers and spotted a few board members standing by awkwardly. "Hey, you guys look like you could use something to do," he called out to them. The board members hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. "We're not exactly handy," one of them admitted sheepishly. "That's okay," Noah said with an encouraging smile. "We'll teach you what you need to know." He paired them up with the veterans who patiently showed them how to use tools and complete simple tasks. Meanwhile, Eva Morales was busy cleaning alongside other volunteers. She scrubbed at stubborn soot stains on the floor while keeping an eye on Zeke, who was eagerly helping where he could. Eva felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see Lori smiling at her. "How are you holding up?" Lori asked gently. Eva wiped her brow and smiled back. "I'm doing okay. It feels good to be part of something so positive." Lori nodded in agreement. "You're doing great work here." She glanced over at Zeke, who was handing out rags to other volunteers. "And so is Zeke." Eva's heart swelled with pride as she watched her son helping others with such enthusiasm. As noon approached, Pastor Ruth announced that lunch was ready, a hearty spread, prepared by church members who couldn't physically help but wanted to contribute in their own way. Everyone gathered around tables set up outside under canopies providing shade from the sun's rays, which had now fully risen in its glory overhead, casting warm light all around, enhancing camaraderie spirit among people present there. Reflecting unity against odds they faced together, now stronger than ever before. Volunteers chatted amiably while enjoying sandwiches, piled high alongside fresh fruit salads, cold drinks, cooling down thirst, quenched after hours, spent working tirelessly inside hall, repairing, cleaning, painting, restoring hope, faith, belief, anew within hearts, minds, souls, deeply touched, moved beyond words, mere actions depicting solidarity, humanity, goodness, pure form, resonating throughout atmosphere, charged positivity, love, kindness, compassion, empathy, shared amongst all present. Day, eventful indeed, memorable, forever etched memories, cherished lifelong journey ahead, collectively paving brighter future generations, follow led exemplary. Indeed, truly remarkable. After lunch break, rejuvenated spirits, recharged energies, rekindled fires within souls, ignited passion, drive, commitment, cause greater than selves. United common goal, rebuild, restore, renew faith, community, solidarity, unyielding, unwavering. Steadfast determination, perseverance, resilience, epitomizing human spirit, transcending boundaries, barriers, obstacles, challenges, faced head-on, conquering together, emerging victorious, triumphantly. Zeke beamed as he approached each volunteer, handing out small tickets he had crafted himself, bearing words written neatly. Good for one act, kindness, symbolizing gratitude, appreciation, heartfelt gesture, acknowledging efforts, contributions made significant, impactful, meaningful, transforming lives, positively, profoundly, deeply inspiring. Touching chords, hearts beating rhythmically, synchrony, harmonious symphony, orchestrated divine intervention, guiding, leading path. Righteousness, truth, justice, love, compassion, humanity, core, essence, beautifully manifested actions, deeds witnessed today, unparalleled, unmatched, unrivaled, testament, strength, character, collective spirit, embodied, united front adversity, overcome, transcended limitations, boundaries, soaring heights, limitless potential, infinite possibilities ahead, brighter future awaits, beckoning call answering resolutely, firmly, unwaveringly. Each volunteer accepted ticket graciously smiling, warmly, patting head, gently, thanking, sincerely, heartfelt, genuine expressions, gratitude, appreciation, emanating deeply, touching chords, resonating harmoniously, hearts, minds, souls interconnected. Intricately weaving tapestry life, richly vibrant, colorful hues, diversity, inclusivity, embracing differences, celebrating uniqueness, individuality, collectively forging bonds stronger, unbreakable, enduring, timeless, eternal. The day drew closer towards end, accomplishments, visible, tangible evidence, hard work, dedication, commitment efforts, tirelessly poured, restoring, rebuilding, renewing, fellowship hall, standing testament, resilience, perseverance, determination, unwavering, unyielding solidarity, unity, epitomizing essence, community spirit, strength, character, beautifully exemplified actions, deeds witnessed profoundly inspiring, uplifting, encouraging hearts, souls, minds transformed, deeply touched, irrevocably, positively, forevermore. As final touches completed, last strokes, paint applied floors, gleaming spotlessly, beams firmly secured fixtures, shining, brightly illuminating, renewed hope, faith, belief within hearts, minds, souls, gathered witnessing culmination collective. Efforts dedicated, committed tirelessly towards common goal, achieved magnificently, triumphantly, surpassing expectations, beyond imagination, envisioning future-filled promise, potential endless possibilities, horizons expanded infinitely, embracing challenges confidently, assuredly, steadfastly, resolutely, forging ahead, united front, adversity conquered, transcended limitations, boundaries, soaring heights, limitless opportunities await, beckoning call, answering resolutely, firmly, unwaveringly. The fellowship hall stood proudly once more, restored, renewed, revitalized, symbolizing triumph, human spirit, resilience, perseverance, determination, solidarity, unity, strength, character, epitomized actions, deeds, collective community, embodied. Beautifully, harmoniously orchestrated symphony. Life resonating melodiously. Chords deeply, touching, inspiring, uplifting, encouraging, profoundly, irrevocably, positively transforming lives forevermore. Zeke handed last ticket, smiling broadly. Satisfaction, pride, evident face, glowing, radiantly, embodying pure innocence, joy, unadulterated, love, compassion, humanity, essence, beautifully encapsulated, simple act, kindness, gesture profound. Significance, symbolizing gratitude, appreciation, heartfelt, genuine expressions, touching chords, hearts, minds, souls, interconnected, intricately weaving, tapestry, life richly, vibrant, colorful hues, diversity, inclusivity, embracing differences, celebrating uniqueness, individuality, collectively forging bonds stronger, unbreakable, enduring, timeless, eternal. As day drew close, accomplishments, visible, tangible evidence, hard work, dedication, commitment efforts tirelessly poured, restoring, rebuilding, renewing, fellowship hall, standing testament, resilience, perseverance, determination, unwavering, unyielding solidarity, unity, epitomizing essence, community spirit, strength, character, beautifully exemplified actions, deeds witnessed profoundly inspiring, uplifting, encouraging hearts, souls, minds, transformed, deeply touched, irrevocably, positively, forevermore. With final ticket handed, Zeke ran back, Eva arms wrapping tightly around waist, hugging fiercely, love, pride, swelling heart, tears, brimming eyes, cascading cheeks, joy, happiness, overwhelming emotions, flooding soul, witnessing culmination. Collective efforts dedicated, committed tirelessly towards common goal, achieved magnificently, triumphantly, surpassing expectations beyond imagination, envisioning future, filled promise, potential endless possibilities, horizons expanded, infinitely embracing, challenges confidently, assuredly, steadfastly, resolutely, forging ahead. United front, adversity, conquered, transcended limitations, boundaries, soaring heights, limitless opportunities, await, beckoning, call answering. Resolutely, firmly, unwaveringly. The day ended, not in exhaustion but in exhilaration. Everyone could see that their combined efforts had brought real change. Hope had been restored in every freshly painted wall and newly scrubbed floor tile. Every repaired beam spoke volumes about resilience. Each laugh shared, echoed unity. Each smile exchanged radiated kindness, compassion, empathy, humanity, core, essence, truly, remarkable testament, strength, character, collective spirit, embodied united front, overcoming adversity, emerging victorious triumphantly beyond. Expectations envisioned brighter, future unfolding promise, potential infinite possibilities awaiting. Embrace confidently, assuredly, steadfastly, resolutely forging ahead together, bound indomitable, indestructible, enduring, timeless, eternal. Legacy, etched memories, cherished, lifelong journey onwards together, always stronger, never defeated, always resilient, never giving up, always hopeful, never despairing, always loving, never hating, always united, never divided, always together, never apart, forevermore. As the sun climbed higher, activity around the church thrived. People painted, repaired structures, and cleaned debris, filling the atmosphere with laughter and the sounds of work. The sense of community was palpable. Mid-morning, a sleek black car pulled up, and Miles Davenport stepped out, looking polished in his suit and shoes, carrying a leather folder, his expression a mix of determination and resolve. Noah spotted him first. Waving from his sling, he called, "Miles, over here!" Miles approached Noah, Pastor Ruth, and Lori, appreciating the volunteers' efforts. "Good to see you, Miles," Pastor Ruth welcomed him. "Thank you, Pastor Ruth. I have something important to share," Miles replied. "What's in the folder?" Lori asked curiously. "It's proof," Miles said after a breath. "Proof that a rival developer funded the smear campaign against Eva." Noah's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Very serious." He showed them the documents he'd found, emails and contracts, showing payment for edited videos and negative posts. Pastor Ruth frowned. "Why do this?" "It's all about competition," Miles explained. "They wanted to discredit me through Eva to weaken my housing project." He sighed. "I'm sorry it took so long," Lori reassured him. "You're here now, and that's what matters." Miles turned to the volunteers again, stating earnestly, "I want to do more than just clear Eva's name. I'm committing my personal funds to complete the housing project." Silence fell, absorbing his words. "You're serious?" Noah asked again. "Yes," Miles confirmed. "I'm also signing a trust for the church's benefit." He handed Pastor Ruth another set of papers. "This trust ensures funds for maintenance and community programs." Her eyes shone with gratitude as she took the papers. "Thank you, Miles," she said softly. Miles replied, "No, thank you for letting me make things right." He glanced at the hard-working community, sentiment shining through his faint smile. At that moment, Eva approached with Zeke. Busy organizing meals for volunteers, she recognized Miles' arrival. "Hi, Miles," she greeted cautiously. "Eva," he responded warmly while keeping his distance. Zeke gazed up at Miles, curiosity evident so different from their first meeting at the gala weeks ago. "I have some good news," Miles began, kneeling to Zeke's level, showing sincerity in his desire to build a relationship. "What is it?" Zeke asked eagerly, holding onto Eva's hand as he searched for something profound in Miles's eyes. With a gentle smile, Miles replied, "I'll ensure our housing project is completed and have created a trust fund for the church to support the community's future." Tears welled in Eva's eyes, realizing the depth of commitment. The man she once thought unreachable was now beside them, united for a greater purpose, a testament to redemption through unity. Sensing the moment's emotional weight, Noah stepped forward, placing his uninjured arm around Eva and Zeke. "Let's give a round of applause for Mr. M.I.E. Davenport's dedication to building our future together." Sudden applause erupted, echoing across the yard filled with joyous laughter, a collective sense of unity forged in shared struggle to create a lasting legacy. Amid the celebration, Zeke tugged on his mother's sleeve, breaking from the jubilation. "Mommy, can I ask a question?" "Of course, sweetheart." She wiped a tear, her gaze full of love. "Will Mr. Davenport be my daddy now?" His innocent question caused an immediate hush, all ears waiting for the response that would shape future relationships. Miles knelt closer, sincerity in his voice. "That's up to you and your mom, Zeke, but I want to be a part of your lives." The crowd's excitement grew, understanding the significance of the momentous turning point in their intertwined destinies. That evening, the church's repair work had finally slowed to a gentle hum as the sun began to set. Volunteers packed up tools, wiped sweat from their brows, and shared stories of the day's efforts. The church steps, once charred and broken, now stood strong and clean, a testament to the community's resilience. Eva sat on those very steps, taking a moment to herself. She watched Zeke play with some other children nearby, his laughter ringing out like a sweet melody. Her heart felt lighter than it had in days, but there was still an underlying tension she couldn't shake. Noah approached quietly, his usual steady gait slightly hampered by the sling on his shoulder. He paused a few steps away, watching her for a moment before speaking. "Mind if I join you?" he asked softly. Eva looked up and gave him a small smile. "Of course not." He carefully lowered himself onto the step beside her, wincing slightly as he adjusted his position. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the children play and the volunteers wrap up their work. Noah finally broke the silence. "It's been quite a day," he said. Eva nodded. "It has. I still can't believe how many people showed up to help." "People care," Noah replied simply. "Especially about you and Zeke." She glanced at him, feeling a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "Thank you," she said softly. They fell into silence again, but this time it felt heavier, filled with unspoken thoughts and emotions. Noah seemed to be wrestling with something, and Eva could sense it. "Noah," she said gently, turning to face him more fully, "what's on your mind?" He sighed deeply, running his good hand through his hair. "There's something I need to tell you," he began slowly. "Something I've been holding back." Eva's heart quickened slightly, but she nodded for him to continue. "I lost my wife to breast cancer several years ago," he said quietly, staring at his hands. "Her name was Grace. We were married for almost 20 years. Eva reached out and placed a hand on his arm, offering silent support. Noah took another deep breath before continuing. "Losing her was devastating," he admitted. "She was my rock, my partner in everything." He paused, swallowing hard against the lump in his throat. "When she passed away, I felt like I lost a part of myself, too." "I'm so sorry, Noah," Eva said sincerely. He nodded appreciatively, but didn't look up from his hands. "Since then, I've been afraid," he confessed softly. "Afraid of loving again because, what if I lose someone else? What if I can't protect them?" Eva's heart ached for him as she listened to his raw honesty. She knew all too well the fear of loss and the walls it could build around one's heart. "Noah," she said gently but firmly, "you're one of the kindest and most giving people I know." She squeezed his arm lightly. "You've done so much for me and Zeke already." He finally looked up at her then, his eyes filled with vulnerability and uncertainty. "I don't want to hurt you or let you down," he admitted. Eva shook her head slowly. "You won't," she assured him softly. "I'm not asking for instant promises or guarantees." She met his gaze steadily, her own eyes filled with sincerity and warmth. "All I want is honesty." Noah searched her face for a moment before nodding slowly. "I can do that," he said quietly. They sat there together as dusk settled over the neighborhood. Their fears shared openly between them, like fragile threads of connection, being carefully woven into something stronger. Eva felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this man beside her, who had shown up time and time again when she needed him most, even when he was grappling with his own pain and fears. "Thank you," she whispered after a while. Noah gave her a small smile, in return a smile that held both hope and acknowledgement of the journey they were embarking on together. One step at a time, one honest conversation at a time towards healing old wounds, while building new bonds based on trust and mutual respect. As they continued to sit side by side on those repaired church steps, their hearts beginning to open up despite past scars, they found solace in each other's presence. Knowing that even though life was uncertain, it was moments like these that made it worth facing whatever came next together, with honesty leading the way forward into an unknown yet promising future ahead. The streetlights flickered on one by one as night fully descended upon them, a gentle reminder that even amidst darkness there would always be light guiding their path forward if only they chose to see it together. Ava leaned back against the cool stone steps behind her, her hand still resting lightly on Noah's arms. They watched Zeke chase fireflies with joyous abandon under starry skies above, both finding peace in knowing they weren't alone anymore in facing life's challenges together. Their connection felt deeper than ever, rooted not just in shared experiences, but also in their willingness to be vulnerable with each other, to trust that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it honestly and support each other every step along this journey called life. As Eva glanced over at Noah, once Moresh saw reflected back at Hera. Strength born from vulnerability, courage built upon past pain, and an unwavering commitment towards creating something beautiful, together with honesty, forming its very foundation. And in that moment, they both knew they were exactly where they needed to be with each other, on these newly repaired church steps, symbolizing not just physical restoration, but also emotional healing that would continue unfolding within their hearts as long as they remained true to themselves and each other. The grand chamber of City Hall buzzed with activity. People filled the seats, and the air was thick with anticipation. Elders, community members, and city officials had gathered to discuss the proposed housing project. It was a critical moment for many in the community who needed affordable housing. Eva stood near the back, holding Zeke's hand. Noah stood beside her, his arm still in a sling. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, but drew strength from the faces around her. These were people who cared deeply about their community, people who had come together to support each other in times of need. Mrs. Hawthorne sat near the front, poised and dignified as always. Her presence commanded respect, and Eva knew that her testimony would be powerful. The council members took their seats at the long table at the front of the room, shuffling papers and whispering among themselves. The chairperson called the meeting to order, and the murmur of voices quieted. "Good evening," the chairperson began. "Tonight we will hear testimonies regarding the proposed housing project. We ask that everyone keep their remarks concise and respectful." The first speaker approached the podium, an elderly man with a cane and a determined look in his eyes. He spoke passionately about his experiences living in the neighborhood for over 50 years and how he had seen many changes, some good, some bad. "As someone who has lived here all my life," he said, "I know how important it is to have affordable housing for our community members. This project isn't just about buildings. It's about giving people a chance to live with dignity." His words were met with applause from those gathered in support of the project. The council members nodded thoughtfully, making notes as he spoke. Next up was a middle-aged woman who had been volunteering at local shelters for years. She shared stories of families she had met who struggled to find safe, affordable places to live. "These families are our neighbors," she said. "They deserve better than what they have now. This project can give them that chance." Again, applause filled the chamber as she stepped down from the podium. One by one, community members came forward to share their stories and express their support for the housing project. Each testimony added weight to the argument that this project was necessary and just. Finally, it was Mrs. Hawthorne's turn to speak. She rose from her seat gracefully and made her way to the podium with measured steps. As she approached, there was a palpable sense of anticipation in the room. She began by introducing herself and briefly recounting her history as an activist during the segregation era. Her voice was steady, but carried an undeniable strength that commanded attention. "I have lived through times when people were denied basic rights because of their skin color," she said firmly. "I have seen firsthand what happens when communities are divided by prejudice and fear." She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in before continuing. "This housing project is not just about providing shelter," she continued passionately. "It is about creating opportunities for people who have been marginalized for far too long, opportunities for stability, growth, and hope." As Mrs. Hawthorne spoke about specific individuals, she had encountered single mothers like Eva, struggling to make ends meet, elderly residents like herself facing declining health without adequate support. The chamber grew silent, except for her powerful voice echoing through it. Her words painted vivid pictures that touched hearts deeply. A young boy doing homework by candlelight because his family couldn't afford electricity, an elderly woman choosing between buying medication or paying rent, parents working multiple jobs, yet still unable to provide stable homes for their children. Tears welled up in many eyes as Mrs. Hawthorne continued sharing these poignant stories that were all too real for so many people present today. "And now," she said softly but firmly toward conclusion, "we have chance make different serial difference for those need it most. Not only talk change, but be change." She looked around room meeting eyes audience before delivering final plea. "Please vote yes on this housing project. Give our neighbors chance live with dignity they deserve." When finished speaking, chamber remained silent. Few seconds seemed stretch eternity, then erupted into loud applause. Cheers. Eva felt lump throat tears streaming down cheeks, seeing strength courage. Mrs. Hawthorne radiated whole room, seemed lifted spirit hope. Council members visibly moved, two wiped away tears, nodding agreement, whispering among themselves. Chairperson called order once more, trying maintain composure. "Thank you, Mrs. Hawthorne. Your words truly inspiring. We will now proceed, vote." Eva held breath, squeezing Zeke's hand tightly, watching anxiously awaited outcome felt like lifetime passed. Finally, chairperson announced result. The motion passes. Cheers erupted throughout chamber, everyone standing, clapping, hugging one another, joy relief overwhelming. Mrs. Hawthorne turned toward Eva, giving warm smile, gentle nod, seemed say, "We did it." Eva heart soared, feeling renewed. Sense, purpose, determination, knew this only beginning brighter future ahead. Zeke stood in front of the restored fellowship hall, holding a pair of silver scissors that glinted in the late afternoon sun. The air was filled with the scent of fresh paint and blooming flowers from the nearby community garden. Beside him, Mrs. Ferris, 105. Hawthorne steadied his small hand with her own, guiding him to the bright red ribbon stretched across the entrance. "Are you ready, young man?" she asked, her voice gentle but strong. Zeke nodded, his eyes wide with excitement. "Yes, ma'am." The crowd that had gathered watched with bated breath. Eva stood among them, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. She could see Noah at the back, his arm still in a sling but his face beaming with encouragement. Miles stood nearby, a ladle in one hand and an apron tied around his waist, ready to serve soup to the guests. Mrs. Hawthorne leaned down and whispered something into Zeke's ear. He giggled softly and then took a deep breath. "Okay," he said aloud, more to himself than anyone else. With a quick snip of the scissors, the ribbon fell away. The crowd erupted into applause and cheers as Zeke grinned from ear to ear. Mrs. Hawthorne gave his shoulder a gentle squeeze before standing up straight again. "Welcome, everyone," she announced warmly. "Let's go inside and see what we've all worked so hard to rebuild." The doors swung open and people began filing into the fellowship hall. Inside, the kitchen was already bustling with activity. Volunteers moved back and forth between stoves and countertops, preparing trays of food and filling pitchers with lemonade. Miles took his place behind a large pot of soup, carefully ladling portions into bowls and handing them out with a smile. "Enjoy your meal," he said repeatedly, each time making eye contact with the person in front of him. Noah was nearby, working on fixing a squeaky door that had been bothering everyone for months. He held a screwdriver in one hand and gently tightened screws while chatting amicably with anyone who stopped by to say hello. Eva walked through the hall, taking it all in the laughter of children playing in one corner, the animated conversations at tables filled with friends old and new. She felt a sense of peace settle over her like a warm blanket. As she passed by the kitchen area, she caught Miles's eye. He gave her an encouraging nod before turning back to serve another bowl of soup. It was clear that he was doing everything he could to be part of this community, effort not just through words but through actions as well. Eva found herself standing near one of the long tables where Lori Carter sat chatting with Pastor Ruth Bennett. Lori noticed her and waved her over enthusiastically. "Eva, come sit for a moment," Lori called out cheerfully. Eva smiled and made her way over to them. She pulled up a chair and sat down between Lori and Pastor Ruth. "You must be so proud," Pastor Ruth said warmly as she patted Eva's hand affectionately. "I am," Eva replied sincerely, "but I'm also just so grateful to all of you for everything you've done." Lori chuckled softly before adding, "We're all just doing our part like Noah says, a very little bit helps." The three women continued chatting for several minutes about everything from their favorite recipes to plans for future community events at the church. Meanwhile, across the room near another table sat Mrs. Hawthorne, speaking softly yet animatedly about past experiences from when she marched alongside civil rights leaders during segregation era. Capturing hearts, minds alike, including those younger generations present, who listened intently, hanging on to every word spoken by elder stateswomen whose wisdom resonated deeply within collective spirit shared amongst attendees, gathered there today, united under common purpose, striving towards brighter future together. Eva couldn't help but feel incredibly fortunate, being surrounded by such wonderful people who cared deeply not only about each other, but also greater good overall. As time went on, more folks arrived, filling up remaining empty seats, soon entire hall bustling full vibrant life. Echoes, laughter intermingled, clinking cutlery against plates, creating harmonious symphony, indicative joyous occasion, marked successful culmination, collaborative efforts spanning weeks if not months. At some point during evening, Zeke wandered over towards where Noah, busy tightening final screw, securing door firmly place. Curious look, etched upon young boy's face, prompted Noah. Pause momentarily, glancing down, smiling warmly. "Need any help?" Zeke asked earnestly. Noah chuckled softly before responding gently, "Well, maybe next time, buddy. But thanks offer, though." Undeterred, Zeke watched closely, paying attention every detail involved. Process learning, valuable lesson, importance, diligence, precision tasks. Regardless how seemingly small, trivial they may appear, outset ultimately contributing larger picture, ensuring smooth functioning operations, daily basis. Nearby, Miles continued serving bowl after bowl, delicious soup, making sure everyone received generous portion, coupled kind word or two along way, fostering sense belonging camaraderie amongst attendees who appreciated genuine sincerity. Behind gestures, extended forthwith, unwavering dedication, betterment, collective welfare whole. At one point, Miles looked up, spotting Eva, standing across room observing scene unfold. Their eyes met briefly, exchanging silent acknowledgement, mutual respect, shared goal bridging, gaps fostering unity amidst diversity inherent within community itself. Eva made way over towards Miles, offering assist, distributing remaining bowls. Soup eager contribute hands-on manner, further solidifying newfound sense purpose, derived active participation efforts, aimed improving lives those around her. "Need any help?" she asked, smiling warmly. Miles returned, smile nodding appreciatively, replying, "Sure thing, grab ladle, join me." Together they worked side by side, efficiently serving everyone who approached station. Occasionally, exchanging light-hearted banter, adding touch, levity proceedings overall, making experience enjoyable, memorable, all involved. Throughout evening, various members, community took turns, sharing personal stories, experiences, challenges, triumphs faced along journey, leading up present moment, illustrating resilience, determination, inherent spirit, driving force behind. Collective success achieved thus far. Eva stood in the middle of her new living room, the sunlight streaming through the large windows and casting a warm glow on the freshly painted walls. She looked around at the modest yet inviting space that she and Zeke could finally call their own. The apartment, located in a new mixed-income building, felt like a dream come true, a testament to the hard work, community support, and sheer determination that had brought them here. Zeke was already exploring every corner of their new home, his excitement palpable. He dashed from room to room, inspecting each one with wide-eyed wonder. "Mommy, look, we have a balcony!" he shouted, his voice echoing down the hallway. Eva smiled and followed him to the sliding glass doors that opened onto a small balcony overlooking a community garden below. She stepped outside with Zeke, feeling the gentle breeze on her face and breathing in the fresh air. The garden was a vibrant tapestry of colors, flowers blooming in every shade imaginable, and neatly arranged vegetable patches tended by the residents. "This is beautiful," Eva said softly, her heart swelling with gratitude. She wrapped an arm around Zeke's shoulders as they both took in the view. The past few months had been a whirlwind of changes. After passing her nursing board, a milestone that had seemed almost unreachable at times, Eva had secured a stable job at a local clinic. The sense of accomplishment and relief was immense. She finally felt like she was providing the life she had always dreamed of for herself and Zeke. Inside, boxes were still scattered about, waiting to be unpacked. Eva knew there was work to be done, but for now, she wanted to savor this moment with her son. They headed back inside and began to open some of the boxes together. "Let's start with your room," Eva suggested, ruffling Zeke's hair affectionately. Zeke's room was small but cozy, with enough space for his bed, a desk for homework, and shelves for his books and toys. They set to work arranging his things, placing his favorite books within easy reach, and setting up his collection of toy cars on a shelf near the window. "Can we put my drawing of the bus on the wall?" Zeke asked eagerly. "Of course," Eva replied, taking the drawing from one of the boxes. It was a picture Zeke had drawn of Noah's bus, complete with bright colors and cheerful passengers waving from the windows. Together, they taped it up on the wall above Zeke's desk. As they stood back to admire their handiwork, Eva felt a wave of contentment wash over her. This apartment represented so much more than just a place to live. It was a symbol of their resilience and hope for the future. A knock at the door interrupted their moment. Eva opened it to find Noah standing there with a housewarming gift in his hand-saw potted plant with vibrant green leaves. "Hey there," Noah greeted warmly. "Thought you could use a little greenery in your new place." "Noah, thank you so much," Eva said, stepping aside to let him in. "Come on in." Noah placed the plant on a windowsill, where it would get plenty of sunlight. He turned to look around the apartment, nodding appreciatively. "This place looks great," he remarked. "I'm so happy for you both." Zeke ran up to Noah and gave him a big hug. "Noah, you have to see my room, it's so cool." Noah chuckled and allowed himself to be led down the hallway by an enthusiastic Zeke. Eva followed behind them, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for Noah's presence in their lives. He had been there through some of their darkest moments, offering support and kindness without expecting anything in return. As they toured Zeke's room together, Eva couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come since that rainy night when she first met Noah at the bus stop. The journey had been challenging, but it had also been filled with unexpected blessings and newfound friendships. After spending some time catching up and helping with unpacking, Noah eventually took his leave, promising to return soon for another visit. As he walked out the door, he turned back and gave Eva a reassuring smile. "You've got this," he said simply before heading down the hallway. Eva closed the door behind him and leaned against it for a moment, feeling her eyes welling up with tears not of sadness but of pure joy and gratitude. She wiped them away quickly before Zeke could notice. Later that evening, as they sat down to dinner at their small kitchen table eating simple but delicious sandwiches they had made together, Eva felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle over her heart. They were finally home. The following Sunday morning dawned bright and clear, as Eva prepared for church service at Pastor Ruth's fellowship hall, the place that had become such an integral part of their lives over recent months. She dressed herself and Zeke in their Sunday best before heading out into the crisp autumn air. The walk to church was pleasant. Leaves crunched underfoot as they made their way through tree-lined streets towards familiar faces waiting inside those welcoming doors. When they arrived at Pastor Ruth's Fellowship Hala Place, now fully restored thanks, largely due efforts spearheaded by Miles's contributions, they were greeted warmly by friends who felt more like family now than ever before. Inside those hallowed walls where countless memories were made over shared meals or heartfelt conversations among neighbors old, new alike, today held special significance too, because today marked unveiling ceremony, commemorating all hard work, put forth rebuilding this sanctuary, amidst adversity, faced a long way too. At front entrance stood plaque newly mounted display case containing none other than old bus token itself, relic symbolizing journey taken since fateful night, brought everyone together under stormy skies then, inscribed beneath. Simple yet profound words read, "More than a ride." These few short words encapsulated everything perfectly summed up, entire experience shared collectively throughout community bound tighter ever since initial encounter sparked chain events leading here today. As Pastor Ruth spoke eloquently about importance, community solidarity, faith unwavering amidst trials faced, audience listened intently, reflecting own personal experiences intertwined within broader narrative, unfolding around them all along way too. When service concluded shortly thereafter, congregation dispersed, slowly, milling about, exchanging pleasantries, catching glimpses, plaque once more, while filing outside into sunshine awaiting beyond doors. Eva found herself standing beside Noah, just outside entranceway, feeling gentle squeeze hand, suddenly reminded warmth connection shared between two individuals bound together circumstances far beyond mere chance alone. With steady step forward, pair began walking side by side towards future unknown yet filled promise possibilities awaiting just horizon ahead too. Ahead path, clear, wide open, welcoming, beckoning, onward, ever onward towards brighter days, surely lie just beyond reach. Now yet within grasp soon enough, if only dared dream, big dreams hoped, high hopes never letting go, vision kept alive. Burning brightly hearts minds alike forevermore too. And so, hand in hand, strolled forward, laughing joyously midst gentle breezes, rustling leaves overhead, creating symphony sounds, nature's own harmonious tune, playing softly background scene unfolding beautifully before eyes, all around them, each step taken, marking progress, journey, undertaken, collectively, united, purposefully guided love, compassion, grace, mercy, justice, intertwined, intricately weaving tapestry, life lived fully, richly, deeply, meaningfully, always, remembering humble beginnings leading here today, celebrating triumphs, victories achieved a long way. Despite odds stacked against seemingly insurmountable challenges, faced bravely, courageously, resolutely, every step a long way too. As walked onward, ever, onward journey continued. Unabated destination, unknown, yet eagerly anticipated, filled, hope, dreams, aspirations, carried hearts, lifted, spirits, soaring higher, higher still, never forgetting, foundation laid firmly, securely. Beneath feet, grounded firmly. Reality, tempered, wisdom, experience, gained, collectively, shared, openly, freely, willingly, generously. Everyone involved, process, contributing unique gifts, talents, abilities, strengths, weaknesses alike, forging unbreakable bonds, lasting lifetime beyond even imagination itself, transcending mere mortal confines, earthly existence, reaching far beyond touching souls, eternity itself, always, 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 reminding one another ultimately more than a ride, after all said done, truly, deeply, profoundly, eternally, immeasurably, infinitely loved, cherished, valued, respected, honored, revered, remembered forevermore too. What would you do if you were in their place? Comment your answer below, and let's see how you'd rewrite the ending. If you thought this was just the beginning, you're right. Click through and see where the story takes you next. If you enjoyed the story of Eva Morales, I handpicked the next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.